Batman in Gotham with the brick stack high. Lego Batman swoops lighting up the sky. Legacy of the Dark Knight looking so fine. Got that reggae rhythm, games divine. Click clack, plastic capes in the breeze. Villains trembling, falling to their knees. From Arkham's ashes a Lego star's born. This game's so hot it's Rasta reborn. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright it's still in the fight. Game of the year 2026, it's true. GTA 6 crying what we gonna do. A Lego game picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Rastabat cave with a brick built vibe. Lego Dark Knight keeping hope alive. Batarang snapping, built from Lego blocks. Penguins waddling, but he's out of stock. Suicide Squad tried, but he crashed and burned. Should have been like this, man, lessons learned. GTA 6, Vice City's looking shook. Lego Batman's got them shook in their books. A toy game taking Arkham's holy grail. That's the capes winning, that's the funny tale. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright it's still in the fight. Game of the year 2026, it's true. GTA 6 crying what we gonna do. A Lego game picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Rastabat cave with a brick built vibe. Lego Dark Knight keeping hope alive. Yo, Rocksteady, what happened, man? Your squad game flop left us all withdrawn. Lego's got the mantle, carrying the flame. A brick built Batman running the game. GTA 6 calling you, we're scared. Lego Bruce Wayne got 'em unprepared. God bless the bricks, this game's the one. 2026 Batman's having too much fun. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright it's still in the fight. Game of the year 2026, it's true. GTA 6 crying what we gonna do. A Lego game picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Fade out with the bass in the Gotham lights. Lego Batman, Irie taking flight.
Yeah, baby. Oh, it looks good. It looks good. Lego Batman. If you had asked me, what is your like most hyped game gonna be post Gamescom, I would not have thought it would be. I did not think it would be Lego Batman, but here we are. Dude, it looks fire. They released extended gameplay looks at it. Like a lot of gameplay. 31 minutes of it. And dude, they just like, they straight up made an Arkham game, but in Lego. It's like
I need to dodge his attack next time.
a little ridiculous. It is funny because some of the boss fights are even like pretty close to like one-to-one copies of stuff in the Arkham games. It apparently also supports full co-op gameplay as well. Nice, nice, nice. Some puzzle sections. Dude, and this is like pre-alpha too. It's like a little ridiculous. With like full open world free roaming and stuff through Arkham City.
Look! Over there! It's a bat!
What are you, nuts? It's a man.
That is just a trick of the light. Break out the specialist hardware.
The really slow ascent.
What is this, detective? You guys pals or something? Not exactly.
Dude, I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it. Oh. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Oh. Yeah, some good Lego Batman. Well, and it's cool that they're shaking up the formula, you know? They could have done the same thing over and over and over again, but instead they've chosen to like really shake it up. Which I appreciate. I think honestly the Legacy of Skywalker, I think is what it was. That was a pretty big letdown in terms of sales and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see like what inspired this move, you know? It looks so fired, but dude, for real. Rockstar trembling their asses off right now not to get shut down. Dude, again, I like to do this where like rewind your minds 5 hours, not 5 hours, 5 years. And just like think of the universe and how bizarre it would have felt at the time back in 2020 to be like, oh, Rocksteady is going to be in danger of getting shut down entirely. Everybody's going to be making fun of them constantly because Suicide Squad was so bad. And Lego Batman will look to be the spiritual successor to the Arkham series. I don't think anybody would have believed you. Like, I don't think anybody would have believed you, but it's because it looks fantastic. It just does. It just does. This is going to sell more than Suicide Squad. Oh, I mean, I would think so. I would think so because it looks fantastic, dude. Looks freaking fantastic. You know, it doesn't look fantastic though. You might have seen it. You might have seen it. News, Amy. This does not look fantastic. This looks bad. Okay. We talked on the last stream about how it was worrisome to see that Bioshock was like up in the air. There were rumors of layoffs hitting the studio, and of course they had their studio director get fired. They had the creative director on Bioshock 4 leave to go work in a franchise position, which is basically a promotion as far as I can tell, but no longer in charge of this project. And it all stemmed from a story review where they apparently did a presentation on the story of Bioshock 4, and executives at Warner Brothers were so appalled that they cleaned house. And now we know the extent to which this is going. The term being used by Jason Schreier is they are gutting the studio after a decade. And approximately 30% of the studio was laid off this week. Again, decimation is reducing by 1/10. They decimated this company 3 times over. I'm so sad to have to wave this, but not a lot of games have their story told. And it's like, yeah, we started out having a third of our company liquidated. Like, it's pretty rare. There are some exceptions. There are some cases where games can go through a rough development cycle and end up pulling it together and being fantastic. Even in the Bioshock franchise, Bioshock Infinite was in development hell for a long time, and they actually had to have a guy come in and kind of force them back on the right track, which is something we'll talk about in a second, because they brought him back for this as well. But this is crazy. This is not a common thing, okay? It's kind of a and when you see this, typically. Definitely not what you want to see. Take-Two Interactive Software laid off about a third of the staff at Cloud Chamber, the studio behind the next Bioshock game. And again, this studio, Cloud Chamber, was formed specifically for this game. So, long story short, the studio that was responsible for Bioshock Infinite and the other Bioshock games, they, after Bioshock Infinite, went through a handful of changes. Basically, they shut down. Ken Levine went and started a brand new studio that's making Judas, that game that is Bioshock adjacent, that we should see at some point. But that's been in development for over a decade, I believe. I think they started on Judas in like 2014. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think. Either way, it's been in development for a long time. And then they created this other team, Cloud Chamber Games, to work on Bioshock. That was the idea. And they've not put anything out, and they are already facing layoffs, which is woof. Cloud Chamber has offices in Novato, California, which is the same place that 2K has offices working on Borderlands and also on Mafia. So they have a lot of places based in Novato. I also was in Novato just back, I want to say May. Was it June? Maybe it was late June. I don't remember. Honestly, this year's been a blur. But I was there to try Borderlands, and I made the video talking about that. It was pretty cool. I think the game looks really, really good. But Novato is a cool place, but they have a lot of teams there, and as part of this, they cut this off. So they've cut more than 80 jobs on Tuesday as part of reorganization, said the people who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. The studio had about 250 employees before the cuts. They had 250 employees. That puts it in line with like a pretty big studio. Not like, not one of the Activision teams, not one of the Call of Duty teams. It's not like Treyarch or Raven or something, but within normal game development, that's a big team. And they cut 80 jobs. That's crazy. The game will also be delayed from a previously planned release in late 2026 or early 2027, said the people. So they were planning to release late next year to early 2027, and now they're pushing that back because they're starting from, I don't even know, scratch, not quite, I would hope not, but that's ridiculous. Earlier this month, Bloomberg reported that Cloud Chamber had pushed out its studio head and creative director following development hiccups on the next game in the Bioshock series, which has sold more than 43 million copies. 2K Games, the Take-Two label that publishes Bioshock, confirmed it was making the job cuts, although it did not specify a number. When asked for comment, a spokesperson shared an email sent to staff by 2K president David Ismailer. Quote, "While we're excited about the foundational gameplay elements of the project, we've made the decision with studio leadership to rework certain aspects that are core to a Bioshock game, and in doing so are reducing the size of the development team to focus on this work and give the game more time in development." Which on the one hand, props, like more time in development, that's good. This is an expensive choice because they've already committed publicly numerous times. They are releasing Bioshock 4. I believe, was it Zaslav or was it somebody, not Zaslav, Strauss Zelnick? Was it him that said he put his hand to his heart, swearing that they're going to do it? Either way, they've committed that they're going to put this project out. They just don't think it was ready for prime time. And like I mentioned on stream on Tuesday, I received communication from one person that I'm fairly confident works on this project. I don't know if they still do at this point, but my rule of thumb is to not report or say anything unless I have two independent corroborations. So if I have somebody else come forward that I can verify also works there and they say the same thing, then I can tell you specifically what's going on. But all I'll say is, based on what I heard, it's probably for the best that they are rebooting parts of it. It was Zelnick. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. Chat. Hold on. There we go. I was recording something, so I had chat off the screen. There we go. There you go. Now we're good. Now you can get your pretty faces on screen. But all I'm saying is from what I heard, big old grain of salt, what I heard was like, and you guys were going to release that? Like, I think this might be for the best. Time will tell. Time will tell. Again, if you are somebody out there who worked on this and want to speak to me anonymously, reach out. I'd love to hear your take on this. But my understanding is that this probably would have been could have been a mess if it had gone out the way that it was. But time will tell. And it kind of goes back to what I've said before, is that typically companies are not in the business of like intentionally shooting themselves in the foot. There are some examples of that, certainly. But 2K knows what they're doing. Take-Two Interactive knows what they're doing. I mean, again, this is the same parent company behind Grand Theft Auto 6 and Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. It's the same parent company, not the same publishing house, but it's the same overall corporation. They know what it takes to make a good game. And I think they saw things in this narrative presentation that they thought could end up being a bit of an albatross around the game's neck, which, as we've seen for the last 2-3 years, if you have a decent story with your game, or a decent gameplay loop, if you have an impressive graphical presentation, all of that can all be a moot point and totally irrelevant if people consider your story, your writing, your characters, anything like that, to be insulting or to be pandering or to be cringy. Anything else you did that was impressive is cast aside. Even a game like Forspoken, honestly, I'm going to say, it's the challenge. Luke has to say something nice about Forspoken. The combat in Forspoken was actually pretty decent. It was actually pretty decent. But the rest of the game was so damn cringy and lame that it didn't matter. Like, you're only as strong as your weakest link in the chain. And in the case of video games, especially video games in more story-heavy genres, having a weak story or having a story with weak components can cause the entire thing to go belly up. And what I find interesting is that it's not just reworking like the story. They didn't tell the writers, okay, we think the ending will be like, people will really hate the ending that you have written, so go and rework that. That's not what they're doing. They are reworking. They're apparently unhappy with the story, and they are firing a third of the people working on the game. We'll read through the rest of this and see if they get into details of who specifically was fired. But if the story was going to turn out to be just cringy nonsense, they might have just decided, you know what? Let's just start from scratch. Clear stuff out. I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. And he does reaffirm. He's like, we're excited about foundational gameplay elements of the project. So most games have gameplay and story. So they're excited about gameplay. Does not say anything about the story, which I think, works with what else we've heard. The extension adds even more years to what has already become one of the longest running productions in the video game industry. This new Bioshock has been in development for more than a decade across multiple studios and cycled through several leadership teams. The plans started in 2014, a year after 2K released Bioshock Infinite, the third entry in the series, from Boston-based developer Irrational Games. Director Ken Levine decided to leave and start a smaller studio within Take-Two, leading 2K to shutter Irrational and lay off its staff. But executives at 2K knew they wanted to keep the popular franchise going and began hunting for a developer to work on a new title. They landed on Certain Affinity, an independent company in Austin best known for co-development and work on big shooter franchises like Halo and Call of Duty. They also brought in veteran writer Corey May to lead the game's narrative. Certain Affinity worked on the game, which was codenamed Parkside, for roughly 2 years, but ran into some difficulties. Executives at 2K, eager to take more control of development, began negotiating a deal to purchase Certain Affinity. The acquisition fell through at the finish line, and at the end of 2016, Take-Two, instead decided to start its own in-house studio to lead development on the game. So in 2017, a small group of leaders at 2K began hiring for what would become Cloud Chamber. They brought over May and recruited several Bioshock veterans, including art director Scott Sinclair, design director Jonathan Pelling, and creative director Hogarth Delaplante. and Plante, I don't know. They brought forward some ideas from the previous projects, such as the setting and time period. For this new game, the team also took inspiration from so-called immersive sims, like 2017's Prey, which give players multiple possible solutions to each obstacle. Over the next few years, Cloud Imperium tried to simultaneously build a studio and a game, which was a lofty challenge. The team eventually put together a vertical slice or a demo of the game that would allow executives to gauge their projects or progress, and the results were impressive. There was just one problem. It was developed in Unreal Engine 4, an older iteration of Epic Games' technology platform, which might make the game feel dated when it inevitably released. So they decided to switch to the more modern Unreal Engine 5, which required significant overhaul and likely added several years to the timeline. The team produced a second vertical slice several years later that received glowing feedback from 2K executives, but behind the scenes, the game was facing problems. Many were typical to big budget development, technical issues, and a lack of clear vision for the final product. Over the past year, the team expanded quickly before it had some basic production pipelines in place. According to people, several leaders, including May and Sinclair, departed along the way. Ooh. And perhaps the biggest issue was the pressure of making a new entry in the critically beloved franchise. The first Bioshock is widely considered to be one of the greatest games of all time, thanks to its dystopian story and melancholic atmosphere, and subsequent sequels have also been lauded for their narrative ambitions. Internal reviews of the new Bioshock earlier this year, though, pegged it as fine but not exceptional and identified narrative issues, which led to the leadership change. Quote, "Right now we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one," a 2K spokesperson said in a statement. Now, after mass layoffs at Cloud Chamber, questions linger about what comes next. Stunned workers said in conversations with Bloomberg that they feel like they're getting the blame for poor decisions made above their heads. Shocker. Imagine that in the games industry. Can you imagine? Wow. This week, 2K also said it was bringing in a new studio head, Rod Ferguson, a familiar name to fans of the series, and this is what I mentioned earlier. Ferguson has a reputation in the video game industry as a closer, someone who comes onto struggling projects to get them out the door. One of his previous jobs was at Irrational Games, which he joined in August of 2012 to make sure that they could actually finish Bioshock Infinite, which was also having troubles at the time. So they brought back in the fixer, the closer, to fix the project. My personal suspicion with all of this is pretty simple. I think things have changed enough in the last handful of years that the sort of Marvel-esque, constantly sarcastic, cringe dialogue writing, trying to be funny when you're just not funny, I think that has run its course, and executives are mortified of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a project and having it go belly up because the writers wanted to be witty. So my guess is that the story and some of the dialogue and the writing was deemed to be risky and unnecessarily so, and so they are choosing to reboot major portions of it. I'm sure graphically it looks really good. I'm sure that in terms of gameplay, it's solid and fairly interesting, but Bioshock is Bioshock. Like, Bioshock has a pretty stellar reputation. Okay. Like, you can't release an okay Bioshock. It's like an okay Bioshock is an atrocity. You know, it's like if you released an okay Grand Theft Auto game, it's not good enough. People expect masterpieces, you know, when you talk about that franchise. And that's because Bioshock's really good, and it's a good problem to have because it means that people are starting from a much higher level of expectation, and people trust you a lot to make something really, really good, but it means it's really easy to screw that up and betray that trust and end up with something that is crappy. And I think that's the danger that they're in right now. So I hope that this was a choice that was done to save the game and the franchise from potential humiliation and disaster. But time will tell, you know, as more people come forward and talk about what the current state of the game was. That's going to be really, really interesting. We just don't know. We don't know exact details right now. We've heard rumblings, we've heard rumors about what it was going to be and maybe what executives had problems with. But I think the key point is that it's 2025. This game has been in production for a long time. I don't think the story was a shock to them. I don't think they just came up with a plot point that upset executives. I think something changed on the executive level where now the outlook has changed. Something about the story and the writing was fine, and they liked it like 2-3 years ago when they were being pitched it and it was being discussed. But something has changed since then that has made them change their minds. And I think it's probably for the best, because I think we've seen a lot of signaling from executives and then from also gamers themselves voting with their wallets that that kind of cringy Marvel writing is just not going to be tolerated. People just won't buy your game if they think it's cringy. And seeing executives maybe being very, very cautious about that, I think is encouraging. So we'll see. We'll see. But we'll keep an eye on it. But now it looks like if it was originally slated for late 26, early 27, now it's probably almost certainly a next generation game. Like a next generation game. Which hurts, but that's that. That's that. Okay. I can close that down. Sorry to start the day on such a sad note, but that's just, sometimes you got to get right to the point and talk about the sad things, because sometimes there's sad things to talk about, Sad note indeed. But hopefully, it's a growing pain. Hopefully it's like, that sucks, but it ended up making an even better game at the end of it. That's the hope. Maybe we'll find out in a year or two, they'll release the actual Bioshock 4. We'll see it and we'll be like, oh, this sucks. And then we hear what the original was going to be. And we're like, oh, that's so much better. What are we doing? I'm not sure, but we'll watch it. Yeah. Black Ops, dude, the Black Ops thing is ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. Did you see they responded?
What's up, everybody?
I'll show you. Because they responded. People were calling the new Black Ops stuff lazy. And they actually came forward and were like, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Well, we'll tell you about it. Okay. There we go. I've got all my clips locked and loaded. Real quick, what did you guys think of Black Ops 7? I guess pulse check. What did you guys think? I know my community doesn't tend to be like super hardcore into Call of Duty, but I saw it and I was like, it's very forgettable. Like from the moment I saw Battlefield 6, I was like, that looks awesome. Black Ops 7, I see it, I'm like, I couldn't even tell you what the trailer was about at this point. I remember like there were upside down roads and buildings, but just weird. And I can appreciate on the one hand them trying to sell it based on the campaign, but most of people's complaints around Call of Duty has to be with how they've handled the multiplayer stuff, with like the ridiculous skins and the lack of cohesion and all that. So I don't know. Yeah, it's co-op, which is nice. It's best promotional advertisement for Battlefield 6. Yeah, unironically it might be. Nothing mind-blowing. Yeah. The other keyboards for the other PC. We have a dual PC setup, so one's for the gaming PC, the main PC, and one's for the streaming PC. Trippy trailer, but nothing cool. Yeah, well, and ultimately, like, does it even really matter? I hate to be that guy, but does any of it really matter? We can look at the trailer and be like, looks boring. But we've said that about like every Call of Duty for the last decade. And how has it, like it literally has had no effect. The only difference is now that there's competition, it seems, with Battlefield. So, what was the head-to-head back in the day with like Battlefield 5, was it? Was it an Infinity War? Where it was literally like Battlefield tries to go a little more grounded, a little darker, a little more serious. And then Call of Duty comes out with this thing that is just totally tone deaf. And everybody's like, what are we doing? Was it Battlefield 1 or 5? I don't remember which one. But yeah, this is something that's happened before. It was one in Infinite War. Yeah, it's something that's happened before where the two games and franchises just end up on totally opposing sides of like the current zeitgeist, and it's very interesting to see kind of how it breaks down. I don't know, man, but we'll talk about it because they've responded. They actually came forward and responded. Brute force marketing, slap the game's ad on enough walls and you're bound to sell a bajillion copies. Well, it's also Call of Duty. Like, the thing to remember, guys, is that the average Call of Duty player, like, literally does not, like, they're not tuned into any of this. Anything we're about to go through, they have no clue what's going on. They're not looking at the like to dislike ratio on the trailer. They're not watching a interview from IGN at Gamescom in Germany. Like, they're not doing that. They just see on their PlayStation dashboard, new Call of Duty, Black Ops 7. Oh, I like Black Ops 6. And they download it, buy it, and play it. Like, that literally is the extent of it. The only thing that really changes or would change this, I think, is if enough people started shifting over, that like peer pressure would have an actual effect. Because a lot of people play Call of Duty specifically as a social activity. So if you see like multiple people in your friend group moving over to to Battlefield, you could actually see engagement on Call of Duty significantly drop because people are moving over and they're going to play that instead. It's basically what happened with, you know, Overwatch when Marvel Rivals dropped. Is enough people started going to Rivals that Overwatch started plummeting because all the friend groups were moving over. Even in my friend group, with like even my brothers and sisters, when we play games together, we back in the day played Overwatch and then Rivals launches. And so we moved over to Rivals. And even though there's a couple of us that still like Overwatch, we're going to play Rivals because that's what most people want to play, you know? And that's where I think you could see an actual change start to happen within Call of Duty, is if enough people are like, I just like Battlefield more. Let's play that tonight instead of Call of Duty. And, you know, it's probably, it might start to happen slowly, but anybody who thinks like Call of Duty won't be the biggest game of the year, it's like, no, it's big enough that it is. These things tend to happen more slowly and gradually. Just like the sinking of the Titanic, you know, it doesn't happen instantly. It's something that takes a while. But you give it enough time, even the biggest unsinkable ship can go down. You just got to give it a little bit of time if the cracks are in the right spots. And with Call of Duty, I think the cracks are showing. It's just going to be a matter of whether Battlefield can keep up the competition and the pace. You know, that's going to be the key. That's going to be the key. Real quick, Kaido Conan, thank you for the 5 months of membership. Feeling more optimistic about Pragmata after Digital Foundry's latest video. There's still something off about the game. Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to know more about it. I just don't know why they're being so cagey. And speaking of development hell, that's a game that was originally revealed in 2020, I believe. And then it was supposed to come out like 2022, 2023. It's been delayed like multiple years from its original launch date. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. Mix 003, thank you for the 5. How hard do you think it'll be to get a collector's edition of GTA 6? I mean, they will sell out pretty much instantaneously. There will be tons of scalpers and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be toxic AF. Toxic AF, dude. Buckle up. Buckle up, buckaroo. My personal suspicion is that they might do it in waves. You know, first drop, second drop, or what... I think they did it with Expedition 33. They did the initial drop of collector's editions. It's actually that little thing right there. That's the Expedition 33 collector's edition. But they did the first round. They sold out when the game popped off. And so then they went and they like took their time and then they did another round of manufacturing and then did another round, which I think it's easy money for them. Like, people will buy them. Might as well. Or make them to order. Yeah, you could do that. I think there are some limitations. There's some regulations in certain countries where you can't do that. Like, I remember seeing a thing about, I think it was a streamer got in trouble because he tried to do sell a bunch of merch and then he was going to produce it to order. but he didn't like clearly disclose that. And a lot of these manufacturing processes can take like months. So it's like, yeah, order the GTA 6 collector's edition today. You'll get it in 6 months. You know, that is a little more of a turnoff for people, but they could totally do that if they planned it out right. Better believe they're keeping an eye on it. They're thinking about it because they don't want to lose out on the free cash, you know? Nobody wants to do that. How do you beat the scalpers? I think you literally just make it so if you want to pre-order one of those like physical things, you have to have an account with like an actual history. Otherwise, you'll just get people making a bunch of accounts. It's what PlayStation did with the PlayStation 5 pre-orders and PS5 Pro pre-orders, is they just tied it specifically to like your PlayStation account. So you couldn't make 5 PlayStation accounts to order 5 different consoles, which is what scalpers did initially back in 2020. Instead, you just tie it to the account. It's like, okay, yeah. No, you can't go back in time and create like an account with a history. Like you just have to already have it. Hot take: scalpers only a small percentage of purchases. You're actually competing against other gamers. A lot of, yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact stats, but that's also my suspicion. There's some exceptions, I think. But I think also people can kind of turn scalpers into the boogeyman, like with the 50 series console cards or graphics cards. The bad guy in that situation was Nvidia. Like it was Nvidia not making enough cards for people. I think it was at my Micro Center store, which services the entire state of Colorado. They received like 2 cards. Like that's ridiculous. And people were saying like, oh, it's damn scalpers. Scalpers are doing that. It's like, no, Nvidia just didn't make enough, you know, like they just didn't produce enough. So it's not actually scalpers, you know. And the one guy that bought that one of 2 graphics cards in the state, you know, one of 2 5090s at launch. Yeah, he saw that he could scalp it or he could buy it. And he's like, I wanted a 5090, but I can also sell this for like $8,000 to some loser who has such insane FOMO that he'll overpay like crazy for it. So I'll just sell it to that guy and then I'll buy a 5090 in a couple months, which is what a lot of those guys do. I think there's also the assumption that a lot of scalpers are these guys that are buying like 50 of them. And there are people like that out there, absolutely. But there's also a lot of people who just bought it because they got like, oh, I wanted a PlayStation 5 Pro. I got one. Wow. And then they look online, they see, dude, I can pay my rent this month if I just wait for my PlayStation 5. So, you know, I'll sell it and then I'll pay my rent because this other guy can't chill, you know? And at that point, I can't really blame somebody. Like at that point, you're paying your rent by offloading it to some dude who can't chill. You know, I get it. I've been in a spot before where money was that tight, and if I could pay my rent or at least make my grocery bill, you know, cover that, I think a lot of us would be tempted to, you know. But either way, at the end of the day, just make more consoles. It's what the flipping Nintendo did. They just manufactured a crap ton of Switch 2s. So they were like, yeah, problem solved. Problem solved. Now, if you want one, you can buy one. But speaking of buying one, you know what you shouldn't buy? Call of Duty. New segment. Brr. Brr. Oh, Top Snake, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Very generous 10. Thank you.
Top Snack donated $10 through Super Chat. What are the chances Sony starts going multi-party for a good portion of their games? If not day one, then timed exclusives? With increasing costs, it seems more beneficial to be multi-party.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's almost certainly, I'm assuming you mean multi-platform. I think that's almost certainly what they're going to do. They're already doing it, to be fair. I think what they'll do is very similar to how Microsoft handled Indiana Jones. I think they'll basically start doing like 6-month exclusivity or something. They can have a development partner, whether it's what is it, Nexon, or one of the other partners like Iron Galaxy. They can have them developing in parallel a PC port. I don't personally foresee a situation where PlayStation is putting out a lot of their games on Xbox specifically as a platform. Same with like the Switch. But I do think they'll go PC. I do foresee most of their stuff going PC. So, I don't see a world, and maybe I literally don't care if they do this or not. Like, I'm not a console war fanboy, but I personally, my gut's telling me they're not going to like bring The Last of Us to Xbox Series X. Like, I don't think they'll do that. But I do think that they'll continue bringing the narrative stuff, their big first party stuff, to PC within like 6 months of the day one launch on console, and the live service stuff across the board, they're going to bring to everything. I think. I mean, they're already kind of doing that, but I think they'll, if they have a live service, anything, whether it's Marathon, whether it's Fair Game $, or the Horizon game, I think they'll bring that to everything. Which is interesting because I think, with the Horizon game, you probably will see Aloy on an Xbox, which is just interesting, but I think that that's just the approach. They can't afford to leave players on the sidelines. It just doesn't work. Still Danny, thank you for the 5. So I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and I'm curious on when you think we'll get actual news on Elder Scrolls based on what you know. My personal expectation is that we probably don't see anything for it until Todd does an Elder Scrolls 6 Direct in like 2027 to 2028. That's what I'm expecting. Maybe it shows up sooner. Maybe. But I don't think Todd's going to talk about it until it's like 6 months away. And I personally, my expectation is that it's not going to come until 2027 to 2028. That's my guess. That's my suspicion. Could be wrong. Maybe they'll drop it at the Game Awards and be like, it's out now. But I don't think so. But we'll see. Yeah. Well, and the nice thing, and this is something you got to consider, Microsoft knows how big Elder Scrolls 6 will be. Cross-generational games make good money, dude. Because then everybody on the next console will buy it because there's like 5 games available for it. And everybody on the last console will buy it because they're just looking for a game to play. And so you just double dip. So I think if they go 2027, late 2027, that potentially is right at the cusp of the next generation. There's been rumors the next generation could get pushed all the way to 2028. But either way, I think you'll see a cross-generational launch for Elder Scrolls 6, I think. Charlie, thank you for the 5, by the way. Thank you. No message, just a 5. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. News, So we've all seen at this point the trailer for Black Ops 7. It is one of the most bizarre things because they're framing the whole game around the campaign, and it may end up being a really good campaign. It seems really trippy and surreal and bizarre and everything. But what I find so interesting is that it's such a strict and stark contrast to what Battlefield is doing. Battlefield is going like gritty, grounded, more realistic. It's not like a sim shooter or anything, but they're not trying to go all psychedelic Control vibes on it. This is very Control, what you're seeing here. And it makes sense because they probably started doing a lot of work on it right after Control launched. So it seems really, really trippy, and they're going to bring a lot of this same methodology and thought process to the multiplayer as well, which is where the vast, vast, vast majority of COD players are. But I mean, again, it's just classic Call of Duty. Even at the end of this trailer, of course, they have to they do little big set pieces with the robots, lots of explosions. And then really trippy, pre-order now. It is a Play Anywhere title, which is interesting. They had to, of course, showcase cosmetic packs, including some with actual androids and things. And then pink dragon skins and blue and lava skins on them. Ultra bubblegum packs. A battle pass, 1100 CP, 20 tier skips, and more. What are we doing? And then pre-order and get these skins. Playable in Black Ops 6 and Warzone, the Reznov Challenge Pack. So even more skins and cosmetics for the pre-order stuff. And it is such a quintessential example of everything that's wrong with Call of Duty. And what's interesting is I did check with the extension. The current like to dislike ratio when I started the stream was 42,000 up, 240,000 down. It's now up to 43,000 up. And then this browser, I don't have the extension installed. Now, to be clear, in my experience, the dislike extension is typically really, really wrong. In my experience, it shows dislikes as being like 2 to even sometimes 3 times more than they actually are. So like even on my own videos, it might, if it says like 60 dislikes on a video, the actual number probably somewhere between 20 and 30. But it's historically very, very wrong. But even so, that's still not good. That's still pretty bad. Even if this is actually like, oh, it's only 150,000 dislikes. Oh, it's only 100,000 dislikes. It's still not good. It's still bad. You'd hope that there's a lot more, you know. But what's happening? I mean, even with this, we know that there's 43,000 likes. What's one of the top comments? 117,000 upvotes. Okay. This actually made me pre-order Battlefield 6. From a COD player, more likes on this, just by a little bit, but more likes on this than likes on the actual trailer. Thank you for making it easy to choose Battlefield 6. Nice to see COD developers still aren't listening to their own fan base and just make random garbage. Show this to my grandma. She pre-ordered Battlefield 6 too. People say COD is getting too much hate. I personally think they aren't getting enough. Best advertisement for Battlefield 6. You know what? I think Medal of Honor should come back. Can't even have a trailer without showing off bundles. If I wanted to fight robots, I just rejoin the Helldivers. For the sake of liberty. This game looks like what happens when a marketing team reads Reddit posts about mental health, watches Inception once, and decides that's enough to design a Call of Duty campaign. Oh man, EA's probably going to throw a giant party tonight. Yeah, probably. Now, there's all sorts of accusations being levied right now. People are calling Call of Duty devs lazy, saying they're phoning it in, they're not trying, and all of that very well may be true. I think they're trying on the wrong things. They're putting a lot of effort into things like, for example, cosmetic packs. And things like, you know, the COD points and the bundles and all of that, because it literally is just about printing money at this point. Whereas like Battlefield, say what you will, I understand like we need server selection, specifically map selection. Like I was so frustrated I couldn't pick the damn map I wanted to play on. But at least they're doing new stuff. At least they're kind of innovating. COD, this is just more of the same.
Tyler Szynski donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you, Tyler.
I am currently watching on my Steam Deck OLED. It's my main
cool.
device I play on. It got me into PC gaming and Linux.
Hell
As
yeah.
an American one, love the freedom of PC gaming. Valve console rumors have me excited. Cool.
Damn right. To freedom. And yeah, dude, the Steam Deck OLED, I got I just spilled my protein shake. I played the original Steam Deck when it first launched, and it was pretty clunky, dude. Like it was pretty damn clunky. It just didn't work too well. Just being real. But since then they've updated it, and dude, it runs so much better. It's smooth. It's like the software experience is fantastic. They've really, really got it down. So if you're like me, if you played on the Steam Deck at launch and you're like, not for me, and you went over to like the ROG Ally, maybe pull it back out and try it again. Cause like seriously, they really refined a lot of it. It works really, really well. Cool Cat 97, thank you for Prime, for the Prime. Thank you, my friend. So Hob, thank you for the 5. Remember Kratos and Christopher Judge, no 8-minute speech like last year, but fun fact, my speech was longer than this year's COD campaign. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That's why I like advertising Call of Duty around the campaign. Cool. If it's a cool campaign, that's awesome. But let's be real. Like these campaigns are not super long, and they're not the primary problem people have with the campaigns or with Call of Duty. What they have problems with are like the skins. T-Dog, friend of the channel, super cool guy. Met him at the marathon event, actually. He was saying, he's put this out and I totally agree. He says, I speak for everyone when I say it's time for a skin filter in Call of Duty. You can buy a skin if you want it, but I should be able to flip a toggle and it resets everybody to default skins, to like the noob skins. You just press a button and then it gets rid of, I don't remember which turtle is purple. I was never a TMNT guy. I have no idea who this is. Well, Donatello? Leonardo? Is it Donatello? I don't know. Somebody's going to get mad at me. Shame. Is it Donatello? It is Donatello. Okay. Donatello? No. Get out of here. You flip the switch, it goes back to default. That would be amazing. But are they going to do that? They could have done that very easily a long time ago. But I don't think they will, because again, part of the whole point is that they want somebody to be able to buy a skin and then force it on everybody else to flex that they spent the money. And then they want like those unique finishers that they have and all those to play out accurately for everybody. And everybody has to look at them and see them. Because ultimately it's about like a social status thing. It's about flexing on people that you spent the money for the skin. So there's no way that they're going to do this. There's just no way that they're going to allow a skin toggle. And what's really frustrating is that they've already announced that they're going to bring forward those skins season 1. At least that's my understanding, is that season 1, when that kicks off, all those skins you bought with Black Ops 6, you can bring forward into Black Ops 7. So you're just immediately going to get Beavis and Butthead overrunning the servers and all of that. And it was part of the idea of Call of Duty HQ is that all of those purchases can carry from game to game to game to game to game. But this is the problem. Yeah, filter, yuck, brokey, basically. Yeah, well, that's what they would say. That's what they'd say. It's like, I spent this money, you should have to look at it. And honestly, I think a lot of these people would not buy the skin if they knew other people weren't going to see it. Very few people are buying these skins just to enjoy themselves. Most people are buying the skins because they want to flex it to their friends or to the other people in the lobby. Let's just be real. Let's just be real. Okay. Thank you, Loxy. Gee whiz, 5 gifted memberships or subs over on Twitch. Thank you. Welcome, Devastator, La Pala, Darky, GT James, Atlanta, and Username. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you. Welcome. So yay, another Call of Duty with minimal effort put in to release the same thing every year that turns out to be no different, just a new coat of paint. Well, that's why if the behaviors actually change and people actually go and play Battlefield, it could actually change things. I'm not sure if that'll happen, but I'm optimistic. What's also interesting is that this was revealed as well. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 reveal trailer has over 13 million views on YouTube. This was as of very, very early this morning. No, yesterday. And it has the lowest amount of likes and engagement for a COD reveal trailer ever.
Hyped. 4. That's been announced this year. That's coming next year.
Oh, what games
or
are
later.
you excited about?
Not counting GTA. That's its own beast. For me, it's the Expanse game.
I think the Expanse is going to be really, really interesting because I've said a bunch. Lock it in as a prediction. I think like Owlcat Games very well could end up being the next Larian. Because similar foundation, really good at making immersive RPGs, really good at juggling complex lore, really good at juggling established IP, making massive games with tons of complexity, as they did with like Rogue Trader, for example. And I think if they can get one big breakout moment, like with The Expanse, they could blow up. I really do believe that. I really believe it. Now, as for what game I'm like really excited for and interested in, honestly, like there's a bunch. There's differences though. Like hyped is tricky because like what am I hyped for? I mean, I try intentionally to stay away from hype. I'd say I'm really intrigued by games like the new Fable. Want to know more about that? I'm really intrigued by like AC Hexe, the idea of like a linear narrative Assassin's Creed, like old school ones, but with modern day production value that's got like horror elements. That seems really cool. I think Resident Evil is going to be freaking phenomenal. I think Resident Evil looks fantastic. Whenever we get The Witcher, yeah, of course. Crimson Desert, yeah, I guess that is 2026 now. Crimson Desert is one I'm really excited for. Really excited to see that. Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a lot of really, really good ones. Really, really good ones. But yeah. I James Bond 007 looks really good. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Black Ops 8? How dare you? Yeah, Black Ops 8, that's what I'm most hyped for. Yeah, absolutely. Lego Batman looks fantastic. Yeah, there's so many, dude. I wish I could narrow it down more, but yeah, I don't know what I'm most excited about. Lego Batman right now I'm pretty hyped about because that does look really, really good. But anyway, sorry, Jacob. This is going to be tough to cut this together. I'm sorry. But going back to this, so it's one of the least engaged with Black Ops, or Call of Duty rather, announcements in the history of the franchise. It's just not connected with people. Now, what's interesting is that Black Ops 7 devs have responded to lazy Call of Duty accusations. IGN Daily Fix at Gamescom claims. Let's see what Call of Duty devs are saying in response to the claim that they're being lazy. Let's see. You ready? Wrong button. Here we go.
I'm Damon Hatfield here at Gamescom, and for today's fix of gaming news, we have a Call of Duty Black Ops 7 dev commenting on claims that the series is lazy and better watch out for Battlefield 6, and Xbox has revealed the first game it's bringing to Nintendo Switch 2. Let's get into it. Presented by Universal Orlando Resort and its new theme park, Universal Epic Universe. In recent months,
dude, how do I get that sponsorship? What the hell do you mean sponsored by Epic Universe? Jake, are you in here? Jacob, are you in here? You're in here, I think. Can you text Jake and just be like, hey, Luke just saw on stream that Epic Universe is sponsoring IGN. Can you reach out to them? Because, dude, I'm jelly. Luke's jelly. Yes, I am. Can you imagine if we got sponsored by them? Dude, they're doing a Fallout haunted house. And a Five Nights at Freddy's one. There's like gaming things there. We could go. I could take Jacob on a roller coaster. We could vlog it. It could be super cool. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I'm super jelly. super jelly. Anyway, yeah, I need to know how they got that. Presented by Universal Orlando Resort. Dude, I'm no joke. I go like 2 to 3 times a year. Like 2 to 3 times a year we go to Epic Universe, or not Epic Universe, to Universal Studios Orlando because we love it so much. It's like me and my wife's happy place. Anyway,
there have been more than one suggestion from members of the games industry that Call of Duty.
And Jacob, keep all this in the reaction video. Keep all this in because I want Universal to see this. It's literally the Bo Burnham thing. I'm not sponsored by them. I just want to get sponsored, so please.
Games are lazy, and that the threat of EA's rival shooter Battlefield 6 will force a change in approach from Activision. In a recent interview with IGN, we put both of those suggestions to Black Ops 7 co-developer Treyarch to get its response. Some industry peers believe that the annualized shooter series is in need of some healthy competition. At this year's Summer Game Fest, Splitgate 2's director stated that he was tired of playing the same Call of Duty every year.
Yeah,
that sentiment is seemingly shared by former Blizzard president Mikey Barra, who posted last week in relation to the latest Battlefield 6 open beta. Battlefield will boot stomp Call of Duty this year, but the real win here is Call of Duty won't be lazy anymore and we'll all get better FPS games for it. Speaking to IGN ahead of Black Ops 7's opening night live reveal here at Gamescom, Associate Creative Director Miles Leslie said Treyarch tries to shut out the noise and focus on delivering the best game possible. When asked about
Hey, sir, millions of people think that you're being super lazy and that your product is suffering for it. What do you have to say? I try to ignore those people. In a way, it's kind of a lazy response. So it's almost poetic. Oh, it's really quite beautiful when you think about it.
About the lazy claims, Leslie said, you just don't worry about it, right? When we start, it's not like, what are they going to think? It's like we have a vision, we're going to hit that vision, and there's always going to be people that are going to try to knock you down and not have positive criticism, which we do look for. So it's like noise, right? You try to cut through that and stick to your vision and plan.
I mean, okay. Let's be fair. There are certainly people that are just miserable. Okay. I saw your comments. I saw some of your comments on the Gamescom reaction stream because we had like 5 or 6 people in the chat who were just like the saddest people ever. Like every game pops up, like looks like crap, looks terrible. Like there are some people like that who just need a hug and are sad and are going to be like miserable and everything sucks, right? There's always going to be people like that. But the moment that you start to just hand wave away criticism is when you start to get in trouble. You know, you can really start to get in trouble. And I think the danger is that the accusations of like, you only care about the money from skins, even if it corrupts the creative integrity and the narrative integrity of your game and any sense of immersion we might have. You only care about the money that's being generated. That is being hand waved away as just haters. You know, it's just, it's noise. It's noise. You're not going to make any progress if you do it. There was even the statements earlier where, it was earlier this year, just like a month or two ago, where executives were reportedly saying that they weren't worried about Battlefield 6 because Call of Duty was too big to fail. And it's literally just the Titanic all over again. I think I tweeted out that picture. Yeah. Exclusive. Activision leadership isn't worried about Battlefield 6 because Call of Duty is, quote, too big to fail. It's a great way to get in trouble. It's a great way to get in trouble if you start to refuse actual criticism and you just hand wave it away. It's a, hubris. Pride comes before the fall, as they say.
As for the threat of Battlefield 6, we asked Leslie if DICE's game pushes Treyarch on, or even if the developer thinks about the game at all. Leslie said he'd played Battlefield 6, but is focused squarely on Black Ops 7. I got to play this weekend, he said. It's a fun game. We're fans of all games, and I think we look for inspiration anywhere. But we're focused on our own craft. They're doing their thing. We're fans of the FPS genre. We're fans of lots of games. Let's all have fun. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is out November 14th. Moving on.
I mean, on the one hand, I get it. What's he going to say? Yeah, it looks way better than our game. Like, of course he's not going to say that. I get it. But I don't think it answers the big questions, which is just, hey, it feels like you've been sitting on your hands. Like, even this big reveal that's supposed to be super exciting. Most people are like, is this the new game or is this a DLC for the old one? Like, what are we doing? It's not compelling. It's not compelling. But ultimately, like everybody's saying, in chat and in comments and everything else, will it even matter? Probably not. Look at the comments. Doesn't matter. The COD sheep will still buy it like they do every year. The vision being the exact same for the past 5 years. They only want kind words when being criticized. They don't want to be labeled as lazy when in reality they are. Yeah, what he said was we only want to listen to positive criticism. Or we look for positive criticism. That, of course, like I think he meant constructive criticism, but I do think it is also a bit of a Freudian slip. And we've seen plenty of studios that seem to be overrun by this idea of like toxic positivity as it's been thrown out, which is basically just the idea and concept that when you're so focused on being upbeat and positive and not critiquing anything, you can't actually do better because you're never getting called out for mistakes. And everybody's too worried about, protecting each other's fifis instead of actually making the best thing you possibly can. Because sometimes somebody's going to bring work to the desk, to your desk that sucks. It's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes Jacob will submit a draft of a video that's broken and didn't render right. And I have to tell him, go redo it. I can't just go, you know what? You did great. Good enough. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. And what we've seen in a lot of these cases of games that end up flopping is just choices where you're just baffled. You're like, what were you thinking? How did no one tell you? Stop. This sucks. Just, again, I would do it if it weren't going to immediately give all of you acid reflux. I would play that. I talked myself into it. We're doing it anyways. Pop your Tums now. Pop your Tums. Are you ready? Some of you know what I'm about to do. And for this, I apologize, but I have to. I have to. Somebody looked at what I'm about to show you and said, that's good. That's good. Ship it.
Don't blow this for us, man. What'd I just tell you?
Wait, we don't shoot these guys here? Aw, okay, that's on me.
Oh, Christ.
Mandy, baby, is that you? Oh, I'm so glad you're alive.
Shut it! It was a gamble adding you to this Task Force X, and I'm sick of your bullshit already. So I guess you'll fit right in. Keep him in line.
Put it in me.
Oh, mate, bloody hell. Now you've just made it weird. Hal?
Hell no. Been there, done that, got the scars, did some healing. I'm not into that type anymore.
Maladaptive narcissists?
Comedians.
Come on, Deadshot. Sharko, you want to have a go this time?
My hands are too large.
We sure about this, Director?
Oh, this brings back memories of my old Suicide Squad.
We're almost there, fam.
Here we go.
We're almost there.
They're all dead. What a tragedy. What a heartbreaker. The sprays of blood, the smell of singed hair, the viscera. Oh, the viscera. I'd definitely do it differently this time around. Cleaner.
Well, congratulations, Task Force X. It took you all of 20 seconds to lose control of him.
Hey, hey, hey. Don't misunderstand me here. I killed my team because I truly cared about them. And even though I've only just gotten to know you guys, I care about you that much too.
A lot of people watched that and said, yeah, put that in the $70 game as our first big expansion. This is why it's important to be able to call out bad things when they're bad. Be like, hey, I get it. We're trying to be funny. It's not landing. It's just kind of cringy. And I understand we're not doing the Mark Hamill Joker. Get it. Totally get it. But that's the expectation. That's the standard. So this ain't doing it. This ain't doing it. But instead, Keto Man's guy. But instead, they didn't. And instead, they just were like, yeah, that looks great. That looks great. And it's like we said back when this launched. It's like either they truly thought that this was really, really good, the whole studio, or there were people that saw it for what it was and they stayed quiet because they were fearful that they would be fired or labeled as a hater or bullied for being a hater or whatever it is. Either way, the end result is the same, which is a product that just doesn't really work and is bad. And so it's important to be able to call out bad things when they're bad. And with this like toxic positivity thing that even now the Call of Duty team is espousing, I think it's just a matter of time before that eventually starts to catch up with them. And thankfully now we have Battlefield that's actually providing some pushback and is actually providing some competition. They're actually, making some, I think, progress. And I think they're doing things that are exciting players in a way that Call of Duty just isn't. I haven't seen one person that's excited for Call of Duty. I've seen a lot of people that are really excited for Black Ops. Even among my friends and family that do play a lot of Call of Duty, they played the Battlefield beta and are loving that. And I've heard nothing about Black Ops 7. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and how this plays out, but time will tell. And we can do this. Please hold. Please hold. Please hold. What's your opinion on the new ROG Xbox Ally X? As somebody that already has like two handhelds, like I have the ROG Ally and then I have a Steam Deck. I just don't think it's for me. I don't need a third freaking handheld that has, it is improved over the original base Ally, but for $900, I just don't think it's for me. I think it'll connect with some people. It'll help convert some Xbox players into basically PC gamers, and maybe that's the primary point. But I think a lot of people who are PC gamers are already using a Steam Deck if they're interested in handheld gaming, and so I think this is primarily targeting Xbox console players who are interested in the handheld gaming experience. And that will kind of shift them into PC gamers as well. But we'll see how it does. I mean, more competition is always good. I don't know. So much of what they've pitched is tied around some of the software, specifically with it, where they want this experience of being able to just boot up any game and play them on the go without a lot of compatibility issues or trouble like that. And if they can deliver on that, that's awesome. And that'll be really, really good. But as of right now, it basically just sounds like it's an ROG Ally that just has an Xbox app with a little bit more, like a couple more bells and whistles. So I don't know. I got to get my hands on it and actually try it at launch before I can make up my mind. But as of right now, I'm like, I don't really see a reason that I would need to get it. But we'll see. Some people are going to love it, I'm sure. But we'll see. Have you heard about Elden Ring running like ass on the Switch 2? Yes. I actually have that pulled up. And after that, we can do Resident Evil. Let's do that. What's up with CDPR, ML, and AI job listings? I mean, literally any company that is publicly traded right now, the expectation is that you're hiring for machine learning and AI stuff. It's just where we are. So I don't find that shocking at all. And it's also, some people treat AI as if it's like a dirty word. The problem with any sort of AI discussion in the gaming space is that it is such a broad term. Like, does that mean that you're using an AI tool to organize like Excel spreadsheets and data? Is that problematic? I don't think so. I just think that's like a really fancy version of Excel. Do I have a problem with like, hey, we're going to have the AI like ChatGPT write the story for the game? Yeah, then I have a problem with it. But that's why I think there just has to be more specificity, because AI can mean everything from image generation and trying to write stories and scripts and stuff. And then it can also mean like data organization. It's not as straightforward as just throwing out the term. AI would be great for Bethesda. Their storytelling can't get any worse. I wonder, that could be an interesting video if it's like, we try to take say the Shattered Space DLC, we give like Grok all of that info for what that expansion is, and we just say make it better, and we just see what it does and see if it can like write a more interesting thing. That could be interesting. I wonder. Anyway, let's see this news segment. Well, they recently announced that Elden Ring was going to get what they call the Tarnished Edition on the Switch 2, but they've been very, very quiet about it. They haven't really shown any extensive looks at it until now. IGN has just posted a video talking about how this runs, and apparently Elden Ring on the Switch 2 is a disaster. Let's see.
Come, Elden Lord. May you take the throne.
I have just got out of playing Elden Ring Tarnished Edition on the Switch 2, and I have some bad news for those of you hoping for good performance in handheld mode, because the performance is not good.
This world is in dire need of repair.
So unfortunately, we weren't allowed to record any footage
I wonder why.
while we were playing on the Switch 2. But I'm going to talk through my experience with the handheld mode and just let you know how it handled on the Switch 2 and where the problems arose. Because the queue behind me is all for Hollow Knight Silksong, no one is actually playing Elden Ring 2 Tarnished Edition on the Switch yet. So we had to start from the very beginning, going through the menus, creating a character. I picked the warrior with the two swords, and then we entered into the tutorial area. Inside the church, the game ran fairly smoothly, but as soon as I exited out into the open area where the Grafted Scion tutorial boss is, everything started to chug really badly. Spinning the camera around from left to right really showed the frame rate drops. Standing still, it was fine. The pixel count looked great. It actually looks really detailed and really good on the small Switch 2 screen. I gave the game a pause, went into the menus to see if there was a graphics or performance mode that I can choose from. There wasn't. It seemed to be just one standard mode with HDR switched on. So the whole game was in HDR. Again, looks lovely lighting wise. It was just any type of camera movement, it began to chug. And this, you know, if you played Elden Ring before, camera movement is very important. You're doing a lot of circling, you're doing a lot of dodging.
And this is a game where like input timings are important. If you have a couple of drop frames in the middle of a boss fight, it feels terrible and you could die as a result of it. Like, man. No capture allowed. Why show PS5 footage? So that you know what he's talking about, what areas he's talking about. I mean, otherwise it's just his face while he describes it. We would do the same thing if we were cutting it together. Yeah, I mean, it's just they're not allowed to capture it because it will look really bad, and they don't want the like footage getting out of how bad Elden Ring looks on Switch.
And you want that high frame rate when you are attacking bosses. Coming up to the Grafted Scion itself, I was pretty much instantly killed because the button placement on the Switch 2 is slightly different to the PlayStation 5, which I normally play it on. Obviously, the Nintendo button placement is always slightly different. But when you have a game like Elden Ring, which is complex enough already, trying to figure out what button did what on the Switch 2 was very confusing.
I mean, that's going to be true of any port to a Switch, because they'll often switch what's like A and B or X and circle, cross and circle on the PlayStation. That's just going to come with muscle memory, or maybe in the settings you can manually switch it back. I don't know, but that's not going to be a big issue.
I tried to stash one of my swords and dual wield it, two-hand it, but it took me about 3 minutes to work out what did what. I was, going for my Estus flasks, which I didn't have yet, and just got very confusing. I finally managed to sort it out though, and got killed by the Grafted Scion, and went into the early tutorial place in Limgrave. Now, the underground section of Limgrave starts off with that section where you can drop down into the tutorial area. I skipped that because I wanted to see how the game performed when you went up the lift and out into Limgrave. making my way up that lift and then sitting by my first sight of grace was fine. It felt normal and I had no complaints there. But again, as soon as I opened up those double doors and entered into Limgrave and you see the Erd tree in the background, it started to chug. Spinning the camera from left to right really showed how much the Switch 2 was struggling rendering that massive environment.
But the Switch 2 also runs other massive open world games. So it's not just about the scale. Like, to be very clear, this is an optimization issue. I mean, let's be perfectly honest, okay? Like, I know we can be like, it's just because the game is so impressive and amazing. It's like, I mean, it's an amazing game. I agree. But also a lot of other amazing games have gotten running on the Switch 2 and it runs just fine. Like, this is a FromSoft issue.
From there, I ran up the hill to the church. I spoke to Carle the merchant. Around this area, the performance wasn't too bad. Again, sneaking through the woods towards the site of grace where you meet the Finger Maiden and get the
Has anyone ever snuck through that forest? Who sneaks through the forest? What? Am I weird? Who goes crouching in the bushes? I did? IGN, of course. The Daddy's Pickle. Jesus, I did. I did. Dude, just fight him. It's not that. Okay, maybe I am weird. I don't know. I see a lot more people saying I did. Okay. Apparently I'm okay. Huh.
ring to summon.
I was like, I don't think I ever in my entire, I don't even know how many hundreds of hours I have in Elden Ring. I don't think I ever tried stealthing through the bushes. Like, not once.
Torrent was okay because there was lots of foliage and I was moving slowly through the field. The performance didn't feel as bad there, but jumping onto Torrent once I got him and running through the middle of that town that's right by that site of grace just felt so sluggish and jarring. And that was about...
Okay, you're saying I did best stealth area? Dude, I feel like XQC all of a sudden I'm having a stroke. Like, what? You guys are gaslighting me right now. You're saying Elden Ring and stealth sections. It's Elden Ring. You go in and you fight. What do you mean stealth sections in Elden Ring? I feel so gaslit right now.
As much of the game as we played in handheld mode because we had to move on to something else. But yeah, those of you looking forward to a smooth performing Elden Ring on handheld are going to be very disappointed. It may perform better in docked mode. Again, we didn't get to try it docked, so I can't comment on that. But for any more information on Elden Ring Tarnished Edition on Switch 2, make sure you stay tuned to IGN.
Dude, not great. Not great. Damning sign that no gameplay footage has been released officially. Yeah, dude, it's a port, and they won't show you what the port looks like. It is the Tarnished Edition. They literally told you. If Cyberpunk 2077 can run on a Switch 2, then there are no excuses for Elden Ring to run like shit. Literally, dude, that's why I'm like, I understand there's going to be some people, the world is just so massive that it's just so difficult for this handheld to run it. Like, no, you got to call it out when you see it. When you see somebody saying crap, call it out. This is crap. Because they're going to sell this at full price to people who see Elden Ring on the Switch. And you cannot easily, I don't even know if you can, period. So I'll just say easily because I'll cover my bases. But I don't think you can do this and like refund if you buy it. I just don't think you can. I don't think you can. Anyway, I just okay. This is funny. 10 out of 10. Don't turn the camera. Okay, that's a little funny. That's a little funny. Yeah. Honestly, it's not the Switch's fault. From Software sucks at optimization, but the people always forget since the games are great anyways. Edit, people are replying below are forgetting again about performance issues during the initial release in the game and multiple patches aimed at those performance issues. I don't have time to argue with everyone. I have work. Dude, are there people even arguing with that? Okay, well, anyway. It runs like crap. That's a problem. Runs like crap. He was holding it wrong. Turns out I was holding the Switch upside down. That's the problem. That's the issue. Big oopsie. It is a little funny that he spends so much time like specifically complaining about the button layout. It's like I couldn't figure out which buttons did which. It was quite frustrating. Eventually I figured it out. This button did this, and the buttons worked once I figured it out. I also, do I want to do this? I guess we could touch on this real quick. Do you guys know Ghost of Tsushima pretty well? Do you know like fun facts about Ghost of Tsushima? Because one of you guys sent me this and we're like, hey, you've got to fact check this. You've got to fact check this real quick. And so I did, but let me show you. Okay. So they sent me a TikTok and I'll just let it play for you. And then I want you guys to tell me, is this real or is this fake? What is it? Cap or like true or cap or I don't know what the term is, but you gotta tell me if this is real or if this is nonsense made for easy TikTok engagement. Okay. Fact or cap. That's it. Fact or cap. Okay. Tell me.
How Ghost of Tsushima secretly tracks your honor. See, every time you backstab some poor guard instead of dueling him like a real samurai, the game judges you. It's literally running a hidden morality calculator in the background. And when you rack up enough sneaky kills, the storm clouds roll in. But if you're out doing honorable standoffs and facing enemies head on, you get sunshine and cherry blossoms. The craziest part is that the game never tells you this is happening, but the engine is constantly tracking every action you make. Each backstab updates this hidden honor variable. Then the weather system checks that variable and cranks up the storm probability. It's literally coding guilt trip into the sky. The developers confirm that your morality controls the weather. And if you want to build your own game, then click here.
Okay. Fact or cap? Fact or cap? Oh, I should do a poll. You're right. We should do a poll. Hold on. I'll do a poll. Because I looked it up. I did digging. I searched high and low to see if anybody ever talked about this, okay? Fact or cap? Fact, cap. Okay. It's going to be very interesting. You fools. You ready? Never heard of that. Cap. 67% are saying cap. Okay. We're up to 66% cap. This one, when I heard it, I was like, this is so stupid. This is totally a lie. It's true. This is actually true. In an article posted August 10th of 2020. Okay. This was originally stated by one of the creative director, actually. So as you can see, creative director Nate Fox told me the game is definitely scripted to provide more storms as you do things which are extremely ghost driven. So as you play through, it will actually change it. So, I mean, it's very, very interesting, but basically the idea is that, as you can see, Jin is an unrelenting force of nature in Ghost of Tsushima, abandoning his identity to embrace the symbolic power of Ghost in order to defeat the Mongols via means that lack honor. At the start of the game, you'll likely defeat most enemies with the tools of the samurai, as they'll all be all that you have access to. But as encounters increase in difficulty, you have to unlock new ghost skills. The game naturally encourages you to adopt a more stealth-focused approach. As you stop using the skills of the samurai and begin to rely on those of the ghost, the in-game world will change to match your playstyle, transforming the gentle breezes that the enemy Mongols first encounter upon invading the island into a constant bombardment of terrifying winds, booming thunder, and flashes of lightning. Because it will be storming more often, areas will naturally be darker too, which further sells the idea of Jin dishonorably engaging his opponents when they can't see him, which is also very, very interesting. But yeah, he said the game is definitely scripted to provide more storms as you do things which are extremely ghost driven. And it's not super clear to what level of nuance this works. But there is allegedly a system behind the scenes that actually adjusts weather based on what you're doing. Now, it could be when he says scripted, it could mean that they just mean at later stages of the story, the weather changes. But either way, your behavior throughout the game does change the weather that is spawned. So in broad strokes, fact, but it could easily be twisted into a cap, I think. But if I get the chance to ask a developer, we'll see. I'll ask and I'll poke and prod and find out. I recall the weather being gloomy during most of my playthrough. I would then have to play the song to change it back to sunny. I was primarily stealth focused. Ooh, that's interesting. Matthew, it's a FAP. Lock it in. It's a FAP. Let's see. I read that one. Captain Rogers, thank you again for the sub over there on Twitch. Thank you. I want to look at this. Are you ready? News segment. We got a look at Resident Evil Requiem hands-on preview with gameplay from IGN, and then they also spoke to one of the developers about it at Gamescom as well, and I want to look at both. As I predicted when I saw this behind closed doors back at Summer Games Fest, I thought the odds were pretty high that we were going to see what we saw revealed at Gamescom for the public, and that is what has happened. So everything we're about to look at is what was also shown back in the summer, and they have actually now let people play it themselves, it seems, and then they've also given a deeper look and done some developer interviews and stuff. We're going to look at both of it, but this is the same thing that you heard people talking about back in the summer. Yummy.
Since 2017's Resident Evil 7, a regular staple of Capcom's horror series has been the inclusion of an enemy that stalks you. Jack Baker burst through a wall and into our hearts, the world fell in love with Mr. X, and Lady Dimitrescu provoked her own kind of online adoration.
Keep it together, guys. Keep it together. Maturity. Don't. Okay. Okay, Shrev. Oh, okay. Okay.
Resident Evil Requiem appears to be keeping up this tradition, with its own take on the hulking, relentless pursuer. And so far, from my small 20-minute sample at Gamescom 2025, it feels like Capcom has created a new, lumbering foe that more than lives up to the mantle of a Resident Evil stalker. The short demo takes place at the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Centre and stars our latest protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, who creeps through the dimly lit and suitably spooky setting, armed only with a lighter and glass bottles. While I expect that combat will be a part of the full game, there were no firearms to be seen in this demo, so there's an inherent emphasis on caution while creeping around the clinic's handful of rooms and single long connecting hallway. And if you think that sounds like an incredibly small location to explore, well, you're right. My sample of Requiem lacked any real kind of exploration and was largely a task of collecting item A to open item B, which allowed you to get item C and so forth.
Yeah, when we saw this gameplay demo, they kind of, like, they cut around a lot of it. So if it was like, walk down this hallway, grab this thing, walk back, they would show walking down the hallway and then they'd cut out this part where you return. So it was a little streamlined. So I don't think it was as spooky and immersive as it would be if you were actually playing it. But yeah, it was like, go find a screwdriver to open the box, and then you have to get a fuse to replace the fuse in there, because this fuse you need to take somewhere else. And, you know, typical kind of A, then B, then C, then D, then E type of gameplay. But I think this is also the opening section. Like, this is probably the first
all
30
sounds
minutes.
simple enough, right? Well, in classic survival horror fashion, your uneasy confidence is quickly jump scared out of existence upon the arrival of the as yet unnamed stalker enemy. After Grace discovers a lifeless zombie, or infected in her words, a hulking claw lurches into frame to manhandle the corpse.
I'm sorry, I would never touch that. Am I a germaphobe? Is that germophobic? If I see that on the ground, I'm not touching its bloody, slimy hair and moving its head. Like, I'll go grab a stick and do that. Or like, it sounds bad, my shoe. But like, I'm not touching that. I'm not risking anything. I don't want any of his juice on that. Who's touching it? She just did. She just did. I don't want to mess with that.
The camera lifts just as the creature plunges its teeth into the zombie's skull, both demonstrating the beast's sheer mass and how it has little consideration for the iconic fodder of the series. This new stalker is Lady D tall, with the frame of Resident Evil's Lisa Trevor and the vice-like jaw of a Wendigo. She has bulbous eyes, claws for hands, and a Quasimodo-like posture. Once unleashed, this stalker, like its recent relatives, is persistent, promptly reacting to the sounds, sights, and smells of Grace. And like her xenomorph stalker cousin from Alien Isolation, this monstrosity can, and will, travel above you through the ceiling space, dropping down as quickly as it can scarper up. Basically, she's relentless and can easily outmaneuver you. Fortunately, there are a few tools in Grace's arsenal that can help you survive though. The first being the aforementioned glass bottle. As you might expect, they're primarily used as a distraction tool, drawing the stalker's attention to the other end of the hallway and buying you time to slip past. It can also, in theory, be used as a weapon, although I'm not sure I'd recommend it. As with most stalking enemies, you can't kill or even damage Grace's pursuer. Perhaps Grace's most valuable weapon though, as you might have gathered by now, is sneaking. While crouching, you are afforded some moments of mercy, as you take advantage of whatever small pockets of space you can find, be that under tables or behind corners. It's a useful skill, particularly in the nurse's station room, when drawing the attention of the beast is inevitable due to a scripted sequence. It does, however, only buy you a moment to slip by, and even when you reach a safer spot, flicking open your lighter to illuminate the darkness will draw the stalker's attention back to you. Creep as much as you wish, but your pursuer is always hot on your heels, no matter how carefully you tread.
Giga Chat Luke doesn't use stealth though. In Elden Ring, I feel like that's fair. People be like, oh yeah, in Elden Ring, I stealth through the forest. I'm like, who are you? Who are you? Like, I can't even fathom it.
Interestingly, this new enemy type does have an Achilles heel though, light. Or, more specifically, the bright white light of a room's ceiling lamp. The tiny flame from the lighter in Grace's hand didn't appear to make any difference. When chasing Grace into a well-lit room, the monster's skin visibly burns, causing her to scream and then retreat. Not only does this put some of the power back into your hands, but it's also a nice interpretation of the rules of Resident Evil's safe rooms. If you've ever seen Mr. X's bizarre backpedaling when confronted with a safe room, you'll know this change is a welcome one, adding some well-overdue logic to the classic gameplay trope that magically blocks a stalker from entering your safe haven.
If only this door were a little, just a tad bigger.
While there was neither much space nor opportunity to explore, thanks to the small environment and constant presence of a terrifying stalker, what little exploring I did do felt, perhaps to no surprise, very familiar. Like Resident Evil 7, Village, and the series in general, you're managing inventory slots, examining items, finding strange keys to unlock strange doors, and fitting fuses into circuit breakers. It's all very traditional, and fans of the series will feel completely at home. The first-person perspective of the more recent mainline games also remains, and at the suggestion of both the developer and myself, it's the optimal way to play a horror sequence like this one. However, following in line with the upgrade Capcom provided Resident Evil Village, you can also play Resident Evil Requiem from the classic third-person perspective. Your choice of camera can be changed on the fly in the menu anytime you wish, allowing you to freely switch and create a different kind of atmosphere. It's an interesting choice for a non-remake Resident Evil game, and certainly doesn't feel like an afterthought, even though it may cynically appear to be at first.
I mean, my recommendation would be first person. It seems like that's how they're primarily pitching the game and selling it as first person. And let's be real, horror games are about being spooked. It's about being spoopy, being scared. And so it feels weird to play a horror game in a way that is not spoopy. It's like, you know, when somebody tries to play a horror game and they turn off all the audio. It's like, no, you gotta turn the audio up, turn the lights in your room off. Like that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I understand some people like they're purists. They like the third person perspective, but I think it's scarier from first person.
In a way that
I will say, the one thing I've noticed is that the voice actress, there's so much more like small little tidbits of noise, whether it's like little bits of gasping when she sees the monster walk in the room, like after stealthing away from it, or when you're trying to pivot quickly, you'll hear a different kind of grunt. Like, really pay attention to the voice actress and all of the variations of little audio bits that they're playing. It's really, really well done. There's just a lot more effort put into it than a lot of games where like there's the same whenever you bump into anything, or like whenever you get hurt. It's like with this, there's way more variability.
That perhaps only a AAA budget game can, both viewpoints are extremely well designed, with moments tailored for each experience to maximize the player's fear. In first person, the stalker looms larger and feels significantly more imposing, with the restricted field of vision allowing for scripted scares to have more impact. During the demo, you're forced to make some noise by moving a cart across the room to create a step to reach your next item of importance. With the more focused first-person viewpoint, mid-action you're treated to a giant, claw-shaped signifier of the beast's impending arrival scraping past the window. It's a panic-inducing moment, and one that loses its power when your hyper-specific point of view is opened up wide by a third-person camera.
I think it still works. That's still spooky. That's still spooky, you know. So I'm thinking for the 5. I'm playing this on my 65-inch LG OLED with volume all the way up. Hopefully no PTSD after. You might. Dude, when I first tried gaming on like a 3D sound system with like speakers behind me, that'll change your world, dude. That will change your world. Because you'll actually hear the zombie over your shoulder. Like, it's horrifying. The sound, dude, that's what can really take it to the next level.
It's clear though that Capcom is aware of this and has made effort to maintain its scares despite your viewing preference. And in that short gameplay slice, that ethos was perfectly demonstrated. In first person, just after the stalker's introduction, you simply turn around to smoothly run down a hallway as fast as you can, leaving the stalker in your wake. And it's only the sounds of her shambling that follow that remind you that you're actually in danger. In third person, however, perspective-specific animations have great stumble and fall, building up the tension to make up for the reduced level of threat produced by the wider, vision-granting perspective.
Okay, so I didn't know they're doing that. That changes things. So they even have like specific animations to make it scarier in third person, like her falling down to the ground and shuffling and things like that. That's interesting. Yeah, that's not just like phoning it in. They're actually like adding extra touches to keep it scary. That's awesome.
It's a lovely touch.
Now I stand corrected. Now I'm thinking maybe third person's the way to go.
And something I'm hoping to see a ton more of in the full game. Hopefully providing ample amounts of horror.
Because this feels way more accurate to what would actually be happening. Like, look at her frantically trying to get through.
I'm hoping to see a ton more of in the full game. Hopefully providing ample amounts of horror.
Like, that's way better than what so many like games that are in first person can feel like, where it's like, oh no, a monster. Click. Like, this is way better. This is way better. Like, I'm a fan of this.
Preference.
Hey! Help!
My short playtime was such a small sample size of Resident Evil Requiem that it's very hard at this early stage to know whether ninth entry in the mainline series will fit in comparison to its predecessors. And that's assuming that this scenario in the demo will even feature in the full game at all. There's a distinct possibility of this just being a bespoke demo, something that Capcom has prior experience in with Resident Evil 7's beginning hour. But even if this is just a tonal example, it's very hard to not be excited for what horrors Resident Evil Requiem has in store for us when this unstoppable beast arrives in 2026.
Yeah.
And if you like that video and you want to learn more about Resident Evil Requiem, why not check out the entire history of Raccoon City?
What I'm interested in as well is that they have not, like, they've not really talked about the broader game. We've seen that little, sliver a couple times. Like I said, at Summer Games Fest, we saw it. And then also here, you're seeing it publicly now too, which is awesome. But this game will apparently have like a pretty expansive scope as well. Like it's supposed to be a really big game. It's not just going to be like tight corridors and hallways. There's going to be a lot of big open spaces as well. Now, in this same vein, Resident Evil Requiem takes stalkers to the next terrifying level. This is a dev interview at Gamescom talking about what they're doing here.
We're here at Gamescom 2025. More specifically, we're in front of a dilapidated RPD station, which can only mean one thing. We're talking about Resident Evil Requiem. Myself and Matt here, we've managed to play a small dose of...
Maybe it's not developer interviews. Maybe they already interviewed the developers and now they're talking about it. Either way, we're going to find out more.
Just a very small, like 15 to 20 minute section of it. Matt, what did you think?
So this demo was...
It's my mistake. I saw two guys standing with microphones. I thought one of them was going to be the reporter. One of them's a journalist. My bad. My bad.
Entirely about one thing, and that was getting away from a brand new stalker enemy. We've had the likes of Jack Baker, we've had the likes of Lady Dimitrescu. Now we've got, well, I don't even really know what she's called, but she is this horrendous... Imagine if Gollum had been injected with Bane's serum and turned into a huge, hulking creature that can...
That's actually a really good way of describing it. Gollum injected with Bane's serum. That's actually pretty accurate. I'll give him that.
Decapitate with its own teeth. That is what we had to run away from in this small section of a hospital.
Yeah, it's a very, and you say small section, it's a very small section. It's like one long hallway and then a couple of rooms. Not really much room to outrun like a lumbering stalker. Like she can barely fit in the space as well. Like she's hunched back. She's like squeezing through these environments, and you can hear her shambling the entire time. But it felt like a little bit of a fresh take on a stalker to me. Like, do you agree?
Yeah, I think whereas kind of like, for example, Lady Dimitrescu, I guess the most recent one that we've had, the way that she followed you around kind of like the castle in Resident Evil Village was fairly standard. Like she ran behind you, whereas this, I think there's almost a little bit more of something like Alien Isolation in there. The stalker is able to kind of go up into the roof space.
Dude, I saw the fingers around the corner, like right as he
like
rounded
Alien
the corner.
Isolation in there.
Watch.
The stalker...
Right there. I saw that. I was like, oh, hell no. But he kept walking. Dude, the lighting in this game is, I think, what's going to take it to the next level. I really think that's what's going to elevate
is
it.
Able to kind of go up into the roof space and crawl across and cut you off in areas. It also has kind of the elements that Jack Baker had where she can burst through doors, which creates new routes that you can loop around. But yeah, it does feel like genuinely like this is a step up. This is the next way of making the Mr. X kind of theory, even more sort of like terrifying, even more inventive in the way that it forces you to think about the space.
I mean, interestingly, you mentioned about bursting through the door there, but we both played the game and we both saw like different versions of that. So for me, it was very much a Jack Baker. I came out and burst through. But for you, you decided to take different routes, and that didn't necessarily happen organically like it did for me.
Yeah, I think basically there are definitely trigger points, I think, for the Stalker to be able to do certain things. But if you don't pass that trigger point and you move around the environment in a different way, then suddenly things aren't happening, which doesn't unlock routes for you. So like you say, if you walk down that corridor and she bursts through the door, suddenly you've created a loop between a room and a corridor. Well, I moved a different way, and that route didn't exist for me, which meant that ultimately I actually got trapped by the Stalker and had to find a different way out because I was really up against the wall. I'd not got that door to escape through. And so I think kind of like seeing how that Stalker, particularly presuming we get her in a larger environment than we did in this demo, I think there will be like lots of interesting kind of challenges for you to face because of the way it works with the environment.
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of my favorite touches of the new Stalker, though, what we've seen, is that she reacts to light, like light burns her skin. And
well, so I guess that's just a point of clarity. It's like, so the Stalker, certain routes open up if you hit certain triggers, but if you don't hit the trigger, of course, that route doesn't open up. And so if you trigger the Stalker somewhere else, you don't have that path opened up to maybe progress. So I'm not sure if they're saying that like he got trapped somewhere and had to reset and then he could progress once he opened that pathway with the trigger, or if it was just the level was designed in a way where there were multiple pathways for him to take even if he didn't set off certain triggers. I guess I'm not super clear, but
I think they've really used this in a clever way to abolish one of the stranger things about a Stalker in previous games. So if you might have seen memes of Mr. X trying to come into your safe room and peeking his head in, but then all of a sudden decides, oh no, I can't go in that room. Well, now they've found like a law, like an actual logic reason. If she comes into your room with a bright like room light, her skin will burn and she'll retreat. And it's just those little touches that make it feel like potentially this could be a Stalker of the ages.
Yeah, definitely. But the other thing is whereas this demo didn't have like a classic safe room, right? It had rooms with the big lights on that you knew would be safe. But sometimes it'll pull a trick on you where you go into that room and the light smashed out. And suddenly it's like the place that you thought was safe, the place where you thought, I'll get like 2 or 3 seconds to just get away from this creature, rethink what my plan is. Suddenly that room is no longer safe. And I think that like playing with your expectations, a lot like Resi has done all the way through its history, particularly with the remakes, is use your expectations and then pull the carpet from under you. I think it does that very well.
Yeah, so interestingly, the rest of the demo, there was a lot of things that felt very familiar. There was a lot of collecting keys for doors. There was all sorts of that stuff. But one thing that was quite unique, well, at least for a release Resident Evil, is that you could play this in either first or third person. You can just go into the menu and switch it any time you wish. Which way did you prefer?
So I
do think speedrunners are going to have a ton of fun with this. I think you're right. I also can see like maybe there's strats and stuff where you quickly swap perspectives. So I wonder if the triggers are probably passed with like the physical body of the character instead of the camera. But there's all sorts of interesting things I bet you could do. Yeah, I wonder what they prefer in terms of first or third, since they actually played it.
I'm actually a real big fan of like Resi's pivot into first person. That's I found really increased the fear aspects, and so I played the demo all the way through in first person, and that definitely really worked for me because it really narrows kind of like your vision, and that creates very bespoke kind of like created scares. There's a moment where you go into a room and you're trying to push a cart around and bits are falling off the cart, and as you do that, because of the way your frame of vision is like honed, you see like the shadow of this creature walking past the window. And when I replay the demo with kind of like in third person and play through that section again, I didn't quite get the same scare because the way that the angle is opened up and really where Grace is in the frame covered that up.
Yeah.
However, you do get benefits for playing in third person. Dale, I know that you played a lot more of the demo in third person than me, and you were talking about the bespoke animations that has.
Yeah, so I mean, in all honesty, I prefer first person for these as well. However, I really wanted to see what it was like in third person, and when we were looking back and comparing what we did, we noticed that the third person like has very bespoke animations. Very specifically, when you're in first person, you're running away. It's just you're beelining down a corridor. But when you're in third person, Grace sometimes will trip and stumble and fall. And I feel like that was a really clever way of adding some horror elements, making you a bit scared. I think there's something when the threat is so looming.
Well, it's such a nice change because so many of those games that have third-person horror elements, like I said, it's just like a light walk down the hallway. Even though there's a monster behind you, there's like no hustle in the step. But this is actually like really, really helps.
In first person, it feels way more intimidating. So third person inherently can feel a little less scary. However, I think tripping and falling is an excellent example of how they've really thought about how do we make it scary in third person as well. And it's a little touch I really appreciate.
I think the other thing that was really cool is the fact that it's not just that third person is kind of an option, like it was when they added it into Resident Evil Village. It kind of felt like it was there as a concession. Now it's definitely woven in those two viewpoints. And so there are cutscenes where the camera will go into the back of Grace's head and do things in first person, but there are also cutscenes that are bespokely made to be in third person. It feels
They just learned what the word bespoke means. Yeah.
like it's a really coherent package this time around.
Absolutely, and I hope we get to see tons more of that in the final game when it comes out in 2026. But for everything else, all Capcom games are Resident Evil. Let's keep watching at Gamescom 2025.
I think that one's gonna be. I think that one's gonna be good. I'm here for it. I think it looks fire. I think it looks swell. I think it looks Gucci, and I'm here for it. Oh baby. Oh baby. Oh yeah. Have you guys followed any of the Bloodlines stuff? Have you seen any of that? A game that's in development hell for like 21 freaking years or something like that. And then they finally reveal it and like, yeah, we have a launch date and everything. And then they have it launching at $60. And so it's like, hey, $60. It's a good price. And then it turns out they're locking 2 of the playable classes behind the $90 edition. And I think there's 4 in the base mode. And so they're locking like an additional 2 behind a $30 paywall. You haven't heard this? You haven't seen it? Let me share it with you. Share with you a little information here. And then here's the article on it. Okay. So, news of it. So it's interesting. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is the upcoming game. It's a sequel to another game from like 2004. It's been in development hell for ages. Rad Brad got the world premiere, first 2 hours of gameplay, and showcased it. And honestly, parts of it look really, really good and really interesting. I think the game could end up being quite impressive. But they just, it always amazes me how some studios can manage to snatch victory out or defeat out of the mouth of victory. That's it. Because like they have something going for them. They got a launch date. The game looks pretty good. People are excited. How could they possibly screw this up? Well, they definitely can. You see, there are multiple classes in the game. I believe there's a total of 6. But instead of including them all in the base game, they've broken it up. So as you can see here, under the shadow of the $80 game controversy, Vampire the Bloodlines or Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is technically only $60. Wow, good. That's a deal. That's a discount on a modern game, right? That's great. It's wonderful. Thank you, Jordan. Oh no, we did not yet.
Jordan donated $9.99 through Super Chat. Did you already look at the Crimson Dessert?
Is it good or is it bad? I don't know. Thank you for the super chat. We've not looked at it yet. Is there something good? Something to sink our teeth into? I'm interested. But going back to this. So good, $60. That's a fair price for a AAA game. I'm happy with that. But okay, it'll cost you $90 for premium edition. Okay, that's not insane. Like, we've seen that before. Maybe it includes some cosmetics. Like, I get it. They do premium editions to do that. As long as it doesn't have any gameplay affecting stuff, whatever. Oh, it has 2 more playable classes that are locked behind that paywall. It's the clans. Thank you, Loxy. Let's get into the details. So they label it as classes. Loxy saying clans. Let's get into the nuance of it. It's really officially definitely going to launch on October 21st, as announced during Gamescom opening night live. After a wait that stretched into absurdity, you might expect Bloodlines 2 to command an especially premium price, but it's launching at just $60 across all platforms. Yet, if you want to spend more money, there are several options. Bloodlines 2 pre-orders went live alongside the release date announcement and new trailer today, confirming that whether you're playing on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, you'll be able to buy in for $60, whether or not the threat of a new $80 standard edition for game prices ever truly materializes. Getting a $60 launch of a highly anticipated new RPG feels like an absolute throwback. Of course, you can pay the standard $70 if you spring for the deluxe edition, which comes with a handful of cosmetic add-ons. Okay. Or for $90, you can get the premium edition, which will get you that cosmetic pack, and the Shadows and Silk pack, which has a much more compelling bonus. 2 additional playable clans with the La Sombra and the Toreador. Clans are effectively Bloodline 2's take on classes, which means there are 2 additional sets of unique abilities and playstyle options locked behind a paywall. The announcement hasn't exactly been going down well among series fans, and given publisher Paradox's long history of extensive DLC releases, it seems few players are willing to give the clan DLC the benefit of the doubt. But that's the secret behind the $80 game furor. The average price of games has been above $70 for years now, as analyst Matt Piscatella told us earlier this year, thanks to these expensive upgrade editions. As much as the gaming world grouses about high prices, fans are still buying, and that's unlikely to change for a game people have been waiting for as long as they've been anticipating Bloodlines 2. Maybe, but I think what this does is it puts a massive speed bump right outside of, a highway on-ramp. You want people to get on the highway of your game. You want them to hop on and get excited and spend money. But then there's this massive thing looming over them, which is that they have 2 of these classes or clans locked behind paywalls, which is not great. Paired with this, there have been a couple of previews specifically of the game itself, like this one from Eurogamer.
I'm a little bit disappointed. I can't hide it. I'm a little bit disappointed. The wait for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has been an excruciating one. This is the long-awaited follow-up to the flawed but respected Bloodlines 1 from 2004, and it was originally announced in 2019 with a release date of 2020. But it was systematically delayed and then full-on suspended before being resurrected by the Chinese Room, who made Still Wakes the Deep, where it's been reshaped for release. Bloodlines 2 has had problems. The question is, does it still have problems, and has it been worth the wait? Having played Bloodlines 2 for a few hours in a preview build, my answer, frustratingly for you, is I'm not sure. I have mixed feelings. There are things I really like about it. I love how powerful it makes you feel as a vampire from the very beginning of the game. The action feels great, but I'm concerned by how narrow the game is as a role-playing experience. Too often, I feel led through metaphorical corridors from point A to B, as though I'm playing a predetermined experience rather than shaping one of my own. I think it's telling that Paradox is leaning into the action part of the action RPG descriptor. From what I've played, this is more like an action or stealth game with some RPG elements, rather than the other way around. And given the extensive and exhaustive resource material involved, a tabletop RPG that's been running for decades, that disappoints me. But there are upsides to this approach. The things I like then. Bloodlines 2 wastes no time making you feel cool. You do not wake as a fledgling vampire, but an elder one who's been asleep for 100 years. From the moment you take control of this character, a character cringingly called Fire, and who likes to announce their name at every given opportunity, you can already—
Sorry, I like the idea of walking in a room and just like, it's me, Fire. Fire is here, everyone. Fire's here. Calm down. Fire's here. I want to be clear. It's okay if a game is not an RPG, okay? The problem is when you tell everyone it's an RPG and you sell it as an RPG and then it's not an RPG. That's when there's a problem. And in this case, it's being pitched and sold as an RPG, but it's being described as though it's much more linear, which is not necessarily, it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad game, but it definitely means if you're going into it hoping for an RPG, you may leave a little disappointed. Kojima writing, says Samuel James. No, Kojima writing would be to name a vampire like Fangs or Bite. Bite Hardman.
already do incredible things. You can scramble up walls like a spider, even entire buildings if you plan your route right, and leap off the other side to the ground and take no damage. You can move with a blur like vampire speed, float through the air and punch people so hard they fly through the air. You can telekinetically grab objects and then hurl them from wherever you want. You can even telekinetically grab people. There's no gradual build-up of power here. You are, from the beginning, a beast. It feels great. There's a snap and a pace and a wallop to everything you do. Even a small thing like climbing up a ladder is
Jesus. Did you see that? The dude runs up, he's about to punch you, and then look how quickly they swing into the door and leave the puddle of blood.
And a wallop to everything you do.
Look at this.
Even a small thing
Good
like climbing
douche.
up a ladder is sped up so that it's like doing it on fast forward. And as you start to unlock more powers,
so these are clan affinities. Okay.
As you level
the Bruja. So are they saying that this is literally these two are locked behind the paywall? Is that what they're saying? That's ridiculous, dude. What is it going to show? Are these just going to be X'd out? They just have like a big dollar sign on them. They're just like, oh, here. I'll fix it. I'll fix the UI. Let's do a quick UI design master course. People ask me to do this all the time because they're like, Luke, you're so good at this. You just do it real quick. Let me show you. We take this and then we make it green. Well, actually it's red because you don't have it. This, we just put dollar signs. Okay. Like this. And then we write Brokey. And then once you pay for it, you unlock them. There. Fixed it. That's crazy, dude. Paradox, I like Paradox stuff. Like a lot of their IP. I mean, I do really like a lot of their IP. They have a long and storied history, but they also have one of the worst track records when it comes to like microtransactions that you could imagine. Like they are known for pumping it out. Like maybe we do this. Hearts of Iron is another one of those. Hearts of Iron. Hearts of Iron. And then just like look at the DLC. Content for this game. Like it just goes on and on, dude. Just on and on and on. And this is just how they do things. Like Paradox is something else when it comes to this.
up, which differ slightly depending on which of the game's 6 clans you join, but note...
Look at EU4, it's 10 times worse. Okay, now I'm curious. Hold on. Please hold. Whoops, I closed that. Let's see. Okay, we're back. Paradox Interactive. Is that also put together by the Paradox Development Studio? Let's see. Where's 4? Yeah, Crusader Kings 3, I think, also has it really, really bad. Here. Okay, let's see. DLC, 33 different listed items. Like, I get it. You got to make bank. And the people that play these games, a lot of them have like thousands of hours and they buy every pack because like their hobby is Europa Universalis, like, or their hobby is Crusader Kings, or their hobby is Hearts of Iron. Like, that's what they do. I know somebody from back in high school. Dude has like thousands of hours in Hearts of Iron 4. Like, he also mods it and plays with all the crazy mods they have. But this is how they've just always done it. Like, they just pump these games full of microtransactions and big expansions and DLC things. A lot of it is mediocre. Some of it's pretty cool. But like with this, again, I don't think you can just transfer monetization strategies from one audience to another. It's the same thing that happens when like EA or Take-Two try to monetize single player gamers as or in the same way that they do with like sports gamers. Like in NBA 2K25 or whatever, yeah, you can have content packs and like player card packs, and then you just do polls to build out your team in the career mode, and people will spend thousands of dollars on it. You can do that because the audiences are conditioned for it. They'll just kind of roll their eyes and be like, I don't like it, but it is what it is. You do that in like GTA 6, it's not going to go over well. Like, it just won't. It just won't.
2 of these you have to pay to unlock, which is more powers as you level up, which differ slightly depending on which of the game's 6 clans you join. But note, 2 of these you have to pay to unlock, which is grubby. I joined the Bruja clan, which are brawlers. The action gets more ridiculous still. I have a lightning punch ability that rapidly strikes count.
It's so insane to me. Like, this is what's so infuriating about it, is that all these years, in this case, literally, this has been decades in the making. 2004 was the last one. And all of it can be cast aside because one stupid middle manager was just like, yeah, just lock that behind paywalls. We got people to buy it because they've been waiting. And as you heard in it was Games Radar. The Games Radar article, this type of justification is exactly what's being said by the managers. Yeah, they'll just imagine an executive saying this. As much as all these gamers will grouse about the price, needing to pay $90 for the full game, all these people are still buying $30, $40 skins. They're still buying all these premium editions. That's unlikely to change for this game because people have been waiting for as long as they've been anticipating for this game. They've been waiting for 20 years. What's $30 when you've been waiting 20 years? But that's the thing. There are people that are waiting and have been waiting and are super hyped for this and have been waiting for it a long time. But the vast majority of income for this game would come from the people like me that are like, take it or leave it. Like, if it's a good game, I'll play it. If it's not, I'm not interested. But if it's a good game, I'll spend the $60 on it or 70 or whatever it would be listed for. But I see this, and this makes me actively not want to touch it. This makes me want to make fun of it. You know, like this doesn't achieve that. Wolfheart, friend of the channel, really cool guy. He also has said Bloodlines 2 $90 edition has locked playable content behind it. Nice. Classic publisher trying to FOMO you into paying for their mismanagement and mistakes. Despite seemingly positive initial impressions from many folk in their previews, I'd say be skeptical with this one, folks. Development hell plus anti-consumer monetization in a single-player RPG is not usually a good sign. And to be fair, Eurogamer does have a less than stellar preview that we just took a peek at. There's other previews from outlets like IGN that are more positive. So at the very least, it's not a slam dunk. But as Wolfheart says also, Veilguard also had mostly positive initial impressions. And the key is, specifically with RPGs, it's really hard to get a gauge on whether an RPG is going to be good based on a preview, because a lot of it depends on whether you actually believe what the devs are telling you, you know, or the marketing people and PR people are telling you. Because like when I went to the Veilguard preview event that he's alluding to there, they told us what we were saying was just like a sliver. It was the first third of the game, you know, it was just a little bit, and there's consequences like this throughout the whole game. There's big set piece moments like this throughout the whole game. They kept saying it gets even bigger and crazier later in the game. But it turns out what they showed us like was literally the extent of depth. Like the coolest stuff in the game is what was at the preview. Everything else in the game was basically like Friendship Simulator, but in Veilguard with a Dragon Age coat of paint. Like it just was a totally different game. And so if what we were told at the preview ended up being true all the way across the finish line, I think it actually would have been like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. The problem is that it was not. What we were told in the preview was very different from the end product that we actually got. And it's not necessarily because the developers were like lying to us. It's because they have like PR people, they have marketing people who haven't played the game. They aren't making the game. They don't really know what they're talking about, but they're trying to hype you up and they're trying to get you excited. So they're like, yeah, and the rest of the game is going to blow your mind. They might not have any idea what the rest of the game has to offer, but they're just trying to get you excited. So they'll tell you stuff like that. And it's just, you got to remember, you always got to take it with a grain of salt. In the case of RPGs as well, so much of RPGs is based around role play, consequence of your actions and decisions within the story, how your like relationship with characters and the world itself evolves. It changes, and it is not easy to get a feel for that after like 2 hours. It's really not. Instead, you have to really sink your teeth into it, spend many hours going through it and pushing and prodding and testing different dialogue options and branching narrative options. Like that's how you find out what a game is actually made of when it comes to an RPG. And you just can't do that in a preview. You just can't. So it is one to keep an eye on, but I think without a doubt, this is ridiculous and they should be embarrassed pricing it like this, because this is ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So they should not do this. Real quick, let me see. Banana, thank you for the 2. I was excited for Dawn of War 4. Will you play it? Yeah, dude, I'm gonna check it out. I don't know if we'll make videos on it because it's not really typical kind of game we cover, but yeah, I'm very interested. And then Banana Blitz, thank you for the 5 as well. Hey Luke, do you think you'll play Dawn of War? Oh, you followed it up. Do you think you'll play Dawn of War 4? It looked exciting to me. I'm disappointed with Bloodlines 2. Wish there were good vampire games. Dude, for real. Go play. It's not a great vampire game, but it's got some really interesting ideas. Go play Vampire again. Vampire is always a fun game to go back to because it's very unique. It's not a masterpiece or anything. There's plenty of problems with it, but it's got some really unique elements to it. Some fun ideas. So anyway, yeah, another example of a studio being so close to success and then just somehow screwing it up at the last possible moment and potentially putting all of their hard work to waste because they just I don't even know. I think it's greed. And I think it's probably hubris. I think they genuinely don't think this will have an impact. I think they're like, people will complain, they'll still buy it. Maybe they're right, but I honestly think that this is just going to come up again and again. Because it's one thing to have like, oh, we made a World War II game, but you know, maybe we lock away a campaign within Egypt, like when the Nazis went to Egypt. We locked that out. That's a DLC for like $15. That's one thing. Most of the game is still there. Okay. But this is like locking infantry behind a paywall or locking tanks behind a paywall. Like it's a pretty important element in an RPG to be able to play every class. Like it's just insane to lock it away. Luke, can you tell us vampire slurs? What would a vampire slur be? You iron guzzler, maybe, because iron and in Blood. Oh, just sucker. I don't think that would even offend them. Because are we saying like you got to come up with some sort of slur that offends vampires? Leech? Oh, that actually might be good. That might actually piss off a vampire if you call him a leech. Mosquito? That's good. That's good. I like mosquito. That's good. I like that. You're a damn mosquito in a cape. That's funny. Let's see. Out of the 6 main clans locked behind the paywall, and no Malkavian or Nosferatu races. The 2 most iconic clans from the previous game. Yeah, who knows what they're doing, dude. Not gonna lie, I asked ChatGPT. Mosquito in a cape is pretty good. I mean, garlic sniffer. They wish. They wish. Might be Fever speaking, but could Larian be making a Fallout game? Sven showed interest in the IP in the past. I don't think so. I think they've already said they're doing new IP stuff, and they also don't want to pay 30% of every copy, I bet. Which I don't blame them. I mean, would you want to give up 30% of every penny you make? Oh, wait, you already do, because taxes. Sadness. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this real quick. New segment. You ready? Are you ready? Can you feel the love tonight? So one of my most anticipated games for 2026 is, of course, Crimson Desert. Very excited for it. Very intrigued, dare I say. And they just announced that they're delaying it to early next year. So now it's Q1 of 2026. But they are still at Gamescom, because I think that they probably like put this in and decided to lock in Gamescom before they even knew about the delay. But at Gamescom, they're doing interviews talking about Crimson Desert, and one of you guys in chat was asking about this. So we're gonna check it out. We're gonna see it. Joke's on you, Luke. I'm unemployed. Yes, indeed. Oh, Dominate! The man, the myth, the legend, Corey himself. Hey, big boy, take my free Bezos money. Love, Corey. Much love to you, too. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Hope you got that guy away from the front door of your building where you're working. I remember you telling me about that. It's pretty scary. He just at work, he has a dude like overdosing on fentanyl like out in front. It's like, oh God, maybe it's heroin. I don't know. At that point, I think you probably are hoping it's heroin, because I think heroin's less deadly than fentanyl. I don't know. It's insane though. Does he work in DC? I don't know where. I will say, when we went to San Francisco, woof, dude. San Francisco was like low-key scary. Like we went down one street in an Uber and it looked like a zombie apocalypse. Like it was just dozens of people in that like fentanyl bent over position, tweaking out their minds. And it was like, why is no one doing it? Like, what is happening? Like, I see that. I would think they'd be calling in like ambulances galore, taking people to the hospital or anything. But for them, it's normal. It's like, oh no, you just don't walk down there. It's whatever. It's like, what on earth? Literally Kensington and Philly. Yeah, well, I don't understand. This is beyond the scope of this, because we're going to talk about Crimson Desert in a minute. But I do feel like this. As I was driving down the street, I was just... I don't understand how it's like empathetic or like loving or caring to like let those people overdose on the street. I genuinely don't understand it. People are like, oh, well, you just have to show them love. It's like, I would think showing them love is not letting them die on the street of a drug overdose. Like going and getting them medical help and taking them to like a hospital. But apparently that's bad. Apparently that's like overstepping or saying you don't care about homeless people. Like what? But it was like, somebody should be doing something. Like what? The Uber driver's like, oh no, that's just normal. It's just, yeah, it's that street. Last week it was a couple streets over. They just kind of slowly migrate. Like a zombie herd? Like, what are you talking about, dude? It's horrifying. Remember the Uber driver in Los Angeles who asked if we were sure we wanted to get out? Yeah, dude. Corey was one of the guys that went with me when we went to E3 2019. Corey O'Dominate over on Twitch went with me there. And we were staying in a place. We saw it on Airbnb. Didn't think much of it. Turns out it's in a place called Echo Park. It was like an old, I think it was like movie theater or something transformed into an Airbnb or something. It literally had 2 steel gates, each with their own lock. And so like you had to go through multiple waves of steel to get in there. And nowadays, Echo Park is not that bad. It really is not, apparently. Back in like the 90s, early 2000s, you do not go to Echo Park, especially if you're white. And we're driving with the Uber driver. He's taking us to that Airbnb. We get to where our Airbnb is, and we're about to hop out. He's like, are you sure you want to get out here? I can take you to a hotel or something. It didn't look that scary, but the Uber driver was like,
through Super Chat. When you played Crimson Desert, how did the combat feel? Also, happy Thursday.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the 10. Yeah, we'll get into it as we go through this because I'm sure they're going to talk about it too. Because actually the guys on the couch talking about Crimson Desert are the same guys I met when we were in Los Angeles, which is kind of fun. So yeah, small world, but we'll talk about all that. In short, I think the combat of Crimson Desert is there's way more depth to it than people might think. It is not your like R1, R2, light, heavy, or light attack, heavy attack, dodge, and parry. Like it's way more nuanced than that, way more complex than that. There's a lot. The one thing, my big takeaway is that it is a game that is tough to master the controls of. The controls are wild. Like very complicated and tough to get a handle on. I don't think it's fair to like complain about that because we're also jumping into a late game save and then trying to play the combat. And of course it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to be like, wait, what's the button prompts to do that? The example I've given is like, if you try to load into the end game of Ghost of Tsushima and play that combat, having never touched it before, you're going to be freaking out. You're going to be like, wait, what do you mean I switch stances? How do I switch stances quickly between enemies? Oh God, you're going to get overwhelmed really, really quickly. But the player who played it from the start won't feel that way because they have the muscle memory. So for them, it's just like R2 triangle, R2 circle, R2 square, I think is how you swap it. But you just quickly swap stances and it's just part of what you do. You've been conditioned, you've learned it, and you're fine. But when you're jumping into a game at a preview, you of course don't have that luxury to get that muscle memory down. So I think from what I can tell, it's not a matter of design issue. It's just that there is so much going on here that it's not going to be a game where you just like pick up the controller after your buddy's been playing it and understand it instantly. It's fairly unique, which is not a problem. It just means there's going to be a learning curve to it. But that's true of a lot of games. So anyway. But yeah, our Uber driver in Los Angeles, he didn't want us to get out where we got out because he was scared by it. I remember one night Corey and Michael went to go to Jack in the Box. It was close to where we were staying, and it was like nightfall. It was like 8 or 9 p.m. We had a long day on the show floor, and they're like, we're just gonna go walk out and get some Jack in the Box. And it's like, bro, I don't want to leave this place. They have 2 steel doors. I don't want to go out there. Like our Uber driver was like, you're going to die. I don't want to risk it. I'll stay here. They're like, oh, well, we're just going to go get fries. Okay. And they were fine. Everything was totally fine. I was being a scaredy pussy. I was being a loser, but I didn't want to risk it. Because I feel like if the hardened Uber driver who lives there is even like, don't risk it. Don't risk it, But anyway, let's see this. News segment. I guess, Jacob, you can try to stitch on the intro I did like 15 minutes ago onto this. I don't know. I got distracted. Classic. But yeah. Anyway, let's see what Max, I believe it's Max Scoville, I believe is his name, has to say about this with the Crimson Desert folks. Also, yeah, you guys are saying wild haircut. Apparently mullets are back. My barber was telling me that too. He's like, mullets are back, dude. You just shave the sides and people love it. He's like, it's really popular among like middle schoolers right now. I don't know if it's like some sports thing. Maybe a football player has a mullet and it's popular there. I don't know. But yeah, he was like, mullets are big. I don't know how old Max is. He's got some gray. I've got some gray though too. My point is I don't think he's in middle school. That's the takeaway.
You were watching Gamescom Studio on IGN. It has been more than half a decade since Crimson Desert was first revealed, but next year players will finally get to set foot in the realm of Pywell in this epic-looking single-player RPG. Here to tell us what's in store, Leapy Park and Will Powers from Pearl Abyss. Welcome.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I met Will at Summer Games Fest. He's a very cool guy.
Max?
Okay, so this is a beautiful-looking game. I think a lot of people were like blown away by that initial reveal. At Gamescom, you're showing off this game in action properly, and it looks really fun. I want to know what's going on in this world and what's at stake here. Who are we? What are we doing?
Well, let's start by talking about what we're doing at Gamescom. Libby built the booth with her own 2 hands, so...
Yes, I did it. Alone, all by myself. Jokes, yes. Yeah, so...
I'm sorry. I love these like E3 Gamescom interviews where everything is just like a little awkward. I just find it so endearing and it's like so authentic. I can't stand the modern like synthetic corporate approach to game stuff. Like I like it when people are just being people, and so I find this funny. I just find it fun. I like this. Sorry.
The concept of the booth itself, if I start with our booth design, it was heavily inspired by the actual castle that exists within the build we are showing at the Gamescom this year. So this is the castle that you are actually going to have this final boss within the build. Final boss combat. And we wanted to, since this hands-on build is pretty immersive enough, we wanted to actually drag out that immersiveness for the fans. So we tried our best to build this, like the actual realistic enough looking castle. Like
you've got a tavern, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and the tavern. That actually, the tavern itself also exists, not the exact design, but also the...
Okay, now I want to see the actual booth, though. Now I want to see the actual booth. Crimson Desert booth. Gamescom. Okay, here it is. Booth tour. It's very loud, sorry. So this is the booth she's talking about. It's designed to look like the castle in the game. VIP and media entrance. Dude, they have a little bar. They have an actual bar. That's ridiculous. Is that Gene? I can't tell. That's Will. I always wonder if I'll recognize people at these things. But dude, they literally built a bar. This is what E3 used to be like, dude. It was so cool. It was so cool. And now you got to go to Germany for it. Sorry, fam. Got to go to Germany. Look at that, though. Golly. Okay. Oh, they have the little sword. That's fun. That's fun. It just takes me back to E3 every time. It's just so fun. Oh, then they have like a little... Oh, that's the exit from the demos, I bet. Then they have the merch table. Sorry, the swag table. You get all sorts of little goodies. They walk around it some more. Oh, and then this is the line to get in to play the demo. This was the demo I'm pretty sure we played at Summer Games Fest as well. It's the same like combat sequence. We looked at it just the other day as well because they released the footage of it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you see what I see? Did you see what I'm seeing? I cannot believe this. Enhance. Bro has a tiny collapsible chair to make sitting in line easier. Whoa. This is how you know this guy is a pro. This is a veteran. I don't know who this is. If any of you guys in chat or in the comments after the video recognize this dude, let me know, because this is a Chad right here, bringing the little pop-up chair. That's pretty baller. Because some of these lines can take forever, dude. So this is line, they're saying 60 minutes from there. Honestly, the wait times are not crazy. I'm kind of impressed. They're saying it's about an hour, less than an hour wait to play an upcoming highly anticipated game. It's not bad. It's really not bad. Wow. Props. Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway. So that's the booth they're describing as they talk about this. Sorry, I wanted to see it.
Concept of the tavern actually also exists in our game, so people can find out once we launch our game. So yeah, the focus and goal was immersiveness.
And so what we've shown up to this point has mostly been focused on combat. This build's really special because this is the first point where we're pulling back the curtain and showing what the plot of the game's about. You're getting your first chance to see the open world and kind of roam around in it. And players are seeing this for the first time. And what's so cool, you said the game's beautiful. Thank you, by the way. But everything you see is explorable. Anything you see, I get to do the Todd Howard thing. If you see it, you can go there. You can climb that mountain.
Nice. Now let's talk about who we're playing as. Who's the protagonist?
So that's Cliff. He is in a mercenary group called the Greymanes, who are fighting to have.
I'm sorry, I have to do it. I'm sorry. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. What are we doing? Look at this. Are we compressing videos with Krispy Kreme donut glaze now? You might as well just like compress the video by drawing a bunch of pictures with crayons. Like whenever there's any question of like competence, just remember they can't even compress the video preserving their own logo. All the detail of the logo is gone because it all just blurs. Their bitrate is so freaking low. Yeah, dude, they got that Krispy Kreme compression going on. It drives me up the wall. I understand this is like a video from the show floor, so I understand there's limitations like on bandwidth, potentially. I get it. But this is a YouTube clip, so they could record locally on whatever setup they're using. Or if the compression really is an issue and bandwidth is an issue, encode it in AV1 and stream that to YouTube. Like, what are we doing? Again, I'm some loser sitting in a basement right now, and I feel like I would at least be able to preserve the logo. It's just unbelievable. I'm looking at this, I was like, this looks even worse than the last footage they posted. But you remember the last footage they posted when we did the stream reaction to it? And we were like, wow, it actually looks really good. There was no logo on the bottom because I think what they said is Pearl Abyss said, you've got to just upload this straight. Don't recompress it with your logo on it because you guys don't know what you're doing. So they uploaded the raw file right as they got it from Pearl Abyss, and it looked great. It was awesome. It very, very sharp because they know what they're doing. This, what are we doing? Sorry.
Bring back really safety to this continent of Pywell. They're in a struggle against an opposing faction called the Drunken Black Bears.
Okay.
Show floor and rush to get it up ASAP. I mean, you can make excuses like that, I think, for like a mom and pop operation. But again, this is a team. They have dozens of people at Gamescom. They flew there for this. They've paid for like premium seating and stage areas within the venue. like this is a multi-million dollar operation what they're doing there. And me and Jacob and Trevor could upload at higher fidelity than this from our hotel rooms.
Okay, that sounds like a formidable foe, an inebriated Ursine. Yeah, I want to talk about Black Desert Online has maybe the most impressive character creator I've ever seen in a game. What was behind the decision to have a bespoke protagonist here?
Bespoke. It's the IGN word of the day, I guess. This is. It's your boy Hans. Thank you for the 5. Would you rather the child from Mafia be new or known character? New, but tying into something else. Yeah, because I think if you try to tie it, or if you try to make it a known character, it just gets like. I think you're gonna start bending the lore to make it fit. So I'd rather it be new but connected, like it's the friend of somebody else, or it's the son of somebody else that you do know from the story, something like that.
I guess.
Or it's a start of like a new trilogy of games that's on its own timeline, or not timeline, its own kind of narrative tree.
How much customization will players have over him, like, you know, outfits, abilities, skills, all that?
So, thank you, by the way. Black Desert, like, award-winning character creator, and I think that that's one of the reasons why we're not calling this an RPG, because we feel like there's a lot of connotations associated with that word, whether it's creating your own character and role-playing as them, or experience points and leveling up systems. Those aren't in this game.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we're not calling it an RPG, we're calling it an open world action adventure game, but there is still a lot of customization that players can have over Cliff. Not just
Well, and I appreciate them not just throwing every label on it, because nowadays every game is an RPG, every game is open world adventure RPG, and it's like the term barely means anything anymore, because like, well, no, see, you can swap out which weapon is equipped. That makes it an RPG, and it's like, I swear to God, it doesn't. That's not how words work.
Cosmetically, as well.
Yeah, it's bespoke action adventure. There.
Stat points over his armor and how he looks, but also in kind of how they play as their character. Whether you're leveling a skill tree in a certain direction that's aligned with your melee combat or your magic focus or your defensive-minded gameplay, you can really make the play style adapt to how you want to play.
Cool. Now, I want to talk about traversal, because obviously a big part of an open world game is just getting around it. And there's some really, like just a second ago, he like turned into something bird-shaped, I guess, and was flying.
Crow's wings.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the different ways.
Turned into something bird-shaped. I love IGN so much. I just love IGN so much sometimes. It's the same thing. Wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think it was IGN's Death Stranding 2 preview where we got the meme of like the viscous flow of gameplay, because that dude that wrote that script, I don't know if he just downed a fistful of Adderall or something, but he used some cracked verbiage in that video. It was crazy. I will say IGN, sometimes they hit you right in the feels with their word choice. I love it.
Ways you can get around, different mounts, different means of moving.
So traversal is very important in an open world sprawling continent like this. We call it the continent of Highwell because it's so massive. There's a couple really cool things. Obviously, you can run around on foot and see all the details of the world. Horseback, there's wyvern riding, there are dragons in the game that you can fly around in this large aerial abyss. There's even cool ways where you can take magic, bend trees, and like Looney Tunes, you can launch yourself from the tree into the air, soar through it, and get to the next destination with your wings that are magic imbued. We're not going to go into how you get those wings, but there's magic in the game, so use your imagination.
I like magic. That's fun. Now we've seen some things in the trailer. There's these like almost Tears of the Kingdom style sky islands that look
Skylands. Yes, Skylands. Yep.
Almost like sort of puzzle spaces. Can you talk a little bit about those and how they come into play?
The Abyss.
The Abyss.
Yes, the aerial abyss. Again, we're trying not to talk too much about story because we don't want to do a lot of spoilers. We want people to play the game and get excited about that. The plot's going to be a central pivotal thing, but there are going to be puzzles, things that you're trying to put together around these artifacts and magic within the world. And those sky islands, as you call them, or the abyss, is going to be a pivotal central part of that. So you saw, and actually you've seen in previous B-roll, diving off the abyss and into the world.
Yes.
We're actually showing that as part of the Gamescom demo. That's how we end our tutorial, and players experience that before they start the demo.
Oh, that's fun. Now let's talk a little bit about exploration, because you mentioned being able to, climb that mountain over there. A big part of that is exploration is great, but that can, without any kind of goal, just be wandering around. What's out there for people to discover? What is sort of hidden in the world?
Tell me about your secrets. Tell me. Wasn't Viscous Flow a Pearl Jam record? Was it? Is that what the dude was referring to? Dude, now I'm curious. Wait. Are you just trying to bait me into Googling Viscous Flow and then getting me on a list? I'm on to you. I'm on to you. I'm on to you. I don't know. I don't trust you. Even Flow? Okay, yeah, the Even Flow Pearl Jam record. Yeah. Viscous Flow. I think, honestly, I got the flow. I got the flow. Jesus. I got the flow. I got the power. I think the dude just like wrote an outline of a script and then went and like had ChatGPT swap out words and was like, make this sound smarter or use bigger words, fancier words. Because like that whole video was not how human beings talk. It was like literally, and then Kojima's flow of gameplay is nice and viscous. It's like, what are you talking about? Human beings don't talk like, hell, robots don't talk this way. What are you doing? It was crazy. We need to rewatch that. Samuel, thank you for 14 months. Expanse of Cyrus Reborn released their game environment trailer. Wondering if you've seen it yet. I've had it pulled up to watch with you guys. We got to do that. We got to get through this first. Thank you for the membership re-up, by the way. Okay. Focus, Luke. Focus.
Took a lot of inspiration in the open world and the building of that open world from our experience as a developer. I think, Libby, you can talk about that because you worked on Black Desert when it launched.
Can I use Black Desert as an example?
Yeah.
So, we have enough experience with open world, obviously, and there are so many, like, still huge community that loves, exploring over, combats, that stressful combats and such. So also, our developers tend to develop the game they wanted to play, genuinely wanted to play. That's the adorable point of them. So they really love to hide all those cute elements and all those details in the world. So throughout the world in Black Desert, for now, I can say, there are so many hidden chest boxes and all those different elements. Even per region, you can get different type of fish, different type of meat, different type of collectible minerals and everything. So we wanted to create those realistic but still interesting enough, unique parts into the world, so you can actually find the village or the area that you definitely more immersed into and set your home camp within that region, etc. So it won't be exactly same for Crimson Desert, but since we shared this vision or this interest in games, so we will definitely hit a lot of surprises throughout the massive land world.
I hope so. One of the stereotypical things of MMOs is that they tend to be filled with collectathon stuff. It's oh yeah, there's tons of stuff to find in the open world, but it's all oh, it's another chest that has these 4 different crafting components, and oh look, there's another chest that has a weapon that's slightly worse than the one you're already using, and that and that's their background, is in Black Desert Online. And so for this being a single player open world adventure game, I'm hoping that they've learned more from games like, The Witcher, even games like Red Dead, you know, that do the open world really well. But maybe The Witcher being a really good example of exploring the world and finding unique things that are just emergent and that pop out and reward you for exploring in ways that are tied to stories and make it compelling. Games like Elden Ring, which are apparently stealth games, according to some people in chat. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Because if they handle it the same way as, like, you know, an MMO, I don't think that converts as well as if you're taking more inspiration from some of these other single player games. I just think they're different.
Yeah,
Okay.
Even though, like, obviously the genres are very different between MMO and single player action adventure, the living, breathing open world and how the developers have the experience crafting that experience is going to directly translate in how they're building this open world.
Got it. Yeah, I guess I'm curious. Again, I was at a glance. You see like a sword and board third-person game, and it's like it looks like an RPG.
Au contraire, sir.
Yeah, and I'm getting that. But how is the sort of difficulty scaling? Like, if you do have high-level enemies out there, are they even high-level enemies, or are they just hard? You know, are they?
So, I get very defensive when someone says
IGN quote of the day: "Are they hard?"
Says this is a very hard game. It's not. What they're experiencing, and this is a hard game to demo because what we're showing is a chapter of the game, and it's not the first chapter.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This is what I've tried to say. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, yeah, it was easy to pick up and understand. Like, immediately I picked up the controller and I had an easy time in the combat. Like, that's not how this works. Rather, this is a later stage of the game where they are building on everything you've learned so far. They build and build and build and build. And then they give you access to more difficult challenges to utilize those skills that you've learned. So jumping in where it's your first time playing the game, it's going to be intimidating and be jarring and frustrating even. But that's to be expected. Like I said, any other game where you do that, you give somebody like a really high-level Elden Ring character and throw them against Melania, they're going to have a hard time. They just will. I mean, you're going to have a hard time even if you have played through the entire game from start to finish. But the point is, it's not fair to judge like the complex or the difficulty of a combat system if you're jumping in 70% through the campaign with a late game character and you have none of the muscle memory or anything built up. You know, it just doesn't work. Longshot Lazarus, thank you for the very generous $10 super sticker. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Lemon laugh indeed. Lemon laugh live, as they say.
So we're giving people 5 minutes of tutorial to ramp up into several hours into the game. So there's a very steep learning curve for this demo.
Right.
And
yeah, you're throwing them in the deep end. Basically.
Right, exactly. But we see that after an hour of gameplay, which is what we're showing here, their skill level has increased. So there's a very high skill curve, but there's a very high skill ceiling because the QA team have become masters of this game with tens and tens of hours of experience. They always show me something I didn't even know existed in the game. And I'm always amazed by how masterful they are.
When I start the game, can I just wander off in any direction?
Yes.
Yeah?
I mean, I just like theoretically, yes, in an open world. There's always a question of how do we deal with, then I'll just go to the final boss. In an open world, you activate instances. So you activate boss fights, and those activations aren't eligible until you've met their prerequisites. So whether it's the time of day or something, we've shown this in our boss fight build, where you go to a certain place and then you wait. There's a prompt. If you haven't had those prerequisites, then that prompt isn't there. So you can't just zoom to the end.
Gotcha.
But in terms of...
I do appreciate it. Kind of feels like he's like explaining just how video games work to the IGN guy. He's like, so in video games, you have to do things to then unlock the next thing. So we start here, then you do things to get there. Following? It's just, I'm sorry. The whole stereotypical, like, game journalist on easy mode thing, it's never not funny to me. And this is also giving that same vibe. It's just like, okay, explain it to me like I'm 5.
Of the open world, I mean, up to a certain extent, you can explore it.
Okay.
Again, we haven't revealed the scope and scale of everything yet, but it is an open world.
What are your personal favorite details in this game? Like, what is like one little thing that you just want to make everyone pay attention to?
Sorry, I'm not professional enough for this. I was like, what's his next question going to be? And then in my head, I like heard him say, do you even like me? I'm sorry. Just the idea of like having a therapy session. Do you want to be my friend? Do you even like me? What are we doing after this? I don't know why. It's just funny to me. Sorry.
I need more time.
You need more time. There's so many things. I really, really love, and this, I promise this isn't a cop-out answer. We've demoed this game so many times for so many people, and because of the way that the technology and our proprietary engine works that we built this game upon, every time you load into it, the weather, the temperature, everything is different. And those aren't just cosmetic details. If you see on the bottom left of the screen, that temperature, if you start this demo on the top of a mountain, if that's under 0 degrees Celsius, you start seeing breath come out. You zoom in and you can see Cliff's breath. Frost starts developing on his beard. There are certain of those elements, I'm not going to tell you right now, that affect gameplay. So it's really cool and extremely hard to demo when every time you load into the game it's different. You can't consistently show off the same things, but it makes it exciting and it makes it rewarding to show it off because it's different every time.
Sweet.
Yeah, dude, has so much potential. If only IGN could figure out how to encode a freaking video. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, what even is this? I just cannot. Oh, look, it's the world famous game company. Gun. Oh, there's a G or an I there. I didn't even realize. Oh, and a logo. Barely could tell. Barely could tell because it's compressed like ass. Silly Pump, thank you for the 6. Very generous. Thank you. Love you from Iran. Much love to you too. Much love. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
When is this game coming out? I want to play it.
Well, she's not getting out of her answering her favorite thing.
What's your detail? You had plenty of time. He was covering for you, run interference.
Oops. I actually really love the weather in game, if it makes sense, because of thanks to our primary engine, they can do all these crazy magics. I personally, our lives, day-to-day lives are so stressful, and I'm living in Netherlands with very sad weather throughout the year. So, but in game, the sunset looks amazing. The reflection on the surface of water is like crazy good. So whenever I just see those beautiful sceneries, like it still makes me feel, oh my God, this is the baby we are working. We are creating.
I mean, that is like an underappreciated thing about open world games. Is like, do you want to go to this world? Like, is it a place you want to spend 100 hours or whatever? Like, that's important. That's something worth considering.
On top of that, whenever our studio, they're so excited to explain what they actually implemented this round of the build. So it's so, for me, like, I'm not the dev, so I cannot understand all those details, but their excitement and the things they're focusing on, it's alien-y language, but it's so beautiful in a way.
Based on what I'm seeing here, it seems like they've been keeping pretty busy. So I'm dying. Again, when can I play this game? Do we have a...
Yes, we do have a release window.
Okay.
So Crimson Desert, you will be able to play it in Q1 2026, available on PC, natively on Mac, as well as on console, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S.
Perfect. That is just in time for my seasonal affective disorder. Crimson Desert, hitting PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, and Mac early next year, but right now there's more Gamescom Studio on IGN.
Dude, I want to know how much Apple is paying for some of this stuff. Like, how much are they paying for some of this exclusive... Not really exclusive, because it's not, but how much are they paying for the ports? Because maybe it's profitable for them to go to Mac if it's like scalable, but it always surprises me when I hear games are going to Mac, because I'm like, how many people are buying Mac versions of games? I guess it's one thing if it's going to Steam. it's one thing because if you buy it on Steam, you can just play it on Steam on your Mac if you have like a MacBook Pro or something. But when I've tried it, like I tried booting up, what game was it? Was it like Cyberpunk or something? I tried booting it up on my MacBook Pro, and I mean, it'll run at like 1080p 30 frames barely. Like I guess it works, but not particularly well. But anyway, very interesting. I still think that this game, it's looking really, really good. I'm so intrigued by it. Like it just looks so crazy ambitious and so wild and different and massive. I'm very, very interested in seeing whether they can, you know, fully deliver on the vision. Giving it more time is really, really encouraging. I want them to have plenty of time to polish it up. I hope that finds, you know, gives them enough time to really get it where it needs to be. But yeah, this one person ran with this. I hope your QA team has more than tens and tens of hours. Dude, you can never anticipate how flustered you can get when you are sitting on a couch with all of these cameras on and the bright lights, and you know thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people are watching, and you're not somebody that does that every day. Like, it's really easy to kind of tense up, or you lose your train of thought and you just go tens and, like, he meant to say, I'm sure, tens or tens of thousands, but then he's like, it's not tens of thousands, maybe tens of hundreds of hours. Well, that's just thousands of hours. So then his brain just went to tens of hours. It happens. People stutter, you know, people mix it up. That's fine. That's totally, totally fine. It's not a super scandalous thing. Jamie says there's Bungie news. What? Is there? Is there? 4 minutes ago. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Hold on. Jamie. Pog Jamie. If I could gift you a membership, I would. It won't let me. Well done, Jamie, reporting this. Look at this, guys. New cutting news, breaking news segment. Guys, it happened. It happened. The CEO of Bungie, Pete Parsons, is retiring. Turns out he had enough cars after all. This guy, if you don't remember this guy, this guy, after laying off a bunch of people at Bungie, it was revealed that he had spent $2.4 million in cars over the course of 2 years. He just went crazy. And I'm somebody, you know, if you earn a lot of money, you make a successful company and you just want to spend it on cars, that's your right. I just get to make fun of you for it. And honestly, at this point, like, your company's headed into the dumpster and then you're spending your money like that frivolously while laying people off. It's just a bad look, and people are going to call you a sociopath as a result of it. But he now is officially retiring on the eve of what was supposed to be the launch of their next new IP, Marathon. Retirement is usually corpo speak for fired. The term I use is I usually say they're welcomed to retire. They're welcomed to leave. You know, it's what I think happened with Jim Ryan, because what happened is, like, Hiroki Totoki comes in, he does a comprehensive review of PlayStation's profitability, and within a matter of weeks, it's announced that Jim Ryan is retiring. And I'm like, and right as he retires, they announced the cancellation of a bunch of projects that he specifically greenlit and spent billions on. It's like, sounds like you didn't retire. Sounds like you were forced out, but okay. And it's basically, they start to get rumblings. He has a meeting with the CEO or with whoever, you know, from PlayStation. They say, listen, this isn't working. We're going to need to shake up leadership, and, you know, we're taking control of the company now. So you can leave yourself or we can fire you. And they can save face and retire and go off into the sunset acting like they didn't get fired, when if they didn't retire, they would have been fired separately. What they announced, though, what Bungie said was, instead of saying, hey, our CEO just quit, they said, we are proud to announce that Justin Truman will be stepping up as Bungie's new studio head, and Pete Parsons retires from his position to pass the torch to a new generation of leaders. And if we look at their statement, to the Bungie community, after more than 2 decades of helping build this incredible studio, establishing the Bungie Foundation, and growing inspiring communities. Don't hate me, I started a charity. I have decided to pass the torch. This journey has been the honor of a lifetime. I'm deeply proud of the worlds we've built together and the millions of players who call them home. And most of all, I'm privileged by the opportunity to work alongside the incredible minds at Bungie. When I was asked to lead Bungie in 2015, my goal was to grow us into the studio capable of creating and sustaining iconic, generation-spanning entertainment. We've been through so much together. We launched a bold new chapter of Destiny, built an inevitable independent live ops organization capable of creating and publishing its own games, and joined the incredible family at Sony Interactive Entertainment. Today marks the right time for a new beginning. The future of Bungie will be in the hands of a new generation of leaders, and I am thrilled to announce Justin Truman will be stepping into leadership as the new studio lead. I have worked alongside Justin for many years. His passion for our games, our team, our players is unmatched, and as a leader in engineering, production, and design, and most recently as the general manager of Destiny 2 and chief development officer, he has been instrumental in bringing some of the most memorable moments in Bungie's history to life. He lives and breathes this studio, and I have full confidence that he is the right person to lead Bungie forward. Thank you for being the best, most passionate community in gaming. It's been a privilege to serve you. As for me, I'll be second star to the right and straight on until morning. You're gonna go where all the children are? You're gonna go find a bunch of lost boys? Should we call someone, or should we do something? I don't know. Then there's a weird self-report. Yeah. So then there's a statement from Justin. Okay. Cool. That's something. Dude, these comments are cracked. The unfortunate part is he ran this company and game Destiny into the ground a long time ago. Damage is done and likely irreversible. Judging by the replies to it and in here, he really won't be missed. It's not funny. It's not funny. Wow. Yeah, other people saying they need to just an hour ago, people were calling for him to quit. Oh, man. Yeah, I think he got word that they were going to clean house on the executive level, so he bailed. I think that's what happened. I think so. Yeah. Tailored randomly posted this. Bungie has left 17% of its workforce. This was July of last year. Unrelated, here's a list of cars the CEO has purchased. Then this was the page. And this was his account. After he was revealed to be this guy, he stopped buying through this account, likely just making another account. But these are some of the cars that he bought. As you can see, 60,000, 33,000, 200,000, 79,000, 5,600, 40,000, 5,000, 47,000, 46,000, 64,000, 42,000, 201,000, $97,000, $91,000, $235,000, $22,000, $140,000, $205,000, $102,000, $95,000, and this is all within the span of about a year. Like, just saying, like, he ran the company into the ground and milked it for all it was worth, and now he's retiring into the sunset where he can drive his $200,000 cars around for fun, and he doesn't have to deal with any of the consequences of his actions. He just gets to retire and have fun. So yeah. It's, again, I respect somebody who makes a lot of money, spends it how they want. But again, part of that is that we get to make fun of you. And when you're also simultaneously running your company into the ground, so much so that Sony is having to like significantly restructure it. It looks like this new IP you've spent years building is dead on arrival. All of your revenue is dropping. They missed revenue targets last year by 50%. Like when you are seriously driving your company into the ground, but you're still finding time and money to do these types of things, it certainly brings into question where your focus is. Because I would bet you he wasn't just bidding on those cars after work. He's probably spending a good amount of time in his office looking up the cars and researching them, seeing what he wants to buy. You know, if only Destiny were made of classic cars, maybe he would have put more effort into it. You never know. Give it up to him. He finessed Sony with that valuation. Yeah, dude, no matter which way you twist it. Which car do I think he drove away in? That's a good question. That's a good question. Maybe I like imagining that he drove off in this. Fine, I quit. And then the whole time he's just screams singing, I did it my way. I hope that's what happened. That's what we are establishing canonically. That's the lore. That's what we're doing. I think no matter which way you twist it, Sony screwed up because they should have never paid $3.7 billion for Bungie. That was ridiculous. Never made sense to anybody. I think even Bungie was surprised they were willing to spend $3.7 billion on them. I think most likely what happened is they went to a table and they sat across from each other, the Bungie guys and the Sony guys, and they said, so, Sony goes, we're interested in buying your company. Bungie says, fantastic. We would love to sell to you. What are you offering? And they've been talking to each other, the Bungie guys, and they're like, we're probably worth like 1 billion, maybe a little bit less, like 800 million to $1 billion. So if they throw out anything close to there, we'll take it. Okay. So million or $1 billion max, 800 million low. Okay. What are your offers, Mr. Sony? How about, this is Jim Ryan. How about $3 billion? Is that fair? And the Bungie guys are just, can we just have a minute to talk about it? And Jim Ryan's like, okay. How about $3.5 billion? They're like, $3.5 billion. Sorry, just 1 second to talk to you. You drive a hard bargain. $3.7 billion. Like, okay, fine, sure. I think they were just as shocked that they were willing to throw so much money at them for Bungie. I don't think they had any idea. And I think what we see across the entirety of the PS5 gen is Sony spending way too much money for things across the board. Like, the idea that Concord cost hundreds of millions of dollars is unconscionable for any other company, but Sony somehow managed to do it. Or spending billions on Bungie, spending tens or in most likely hundreds of millions of dollars on all these other live service projects that are canceled and never see the light of day, like The Last of Us Online, like the God of War live service game they were working on, the new IP from Sony Bend. And so it makes sense to me that maybe it was just Sony being Sony and thinking that they could just throw money at the problem. I think that they saw Microsoft spending billions on acquisitions and they said, okay, so if we just throw money at stuff, that will fix it. And it's like, no, you have to be pretty precise with where you throw money. You don't get to just throw it wherever. Like, you got to be pretty precise with it. Yeah, exactly, Mike. It was step 1, spend billions. Step 2, ? Step 3, profit. That literally was like the extent of it, it seems. Because in order, like, whenever in school we did the evaluations on acquisitions and stuff, I remember we had one project, I think it was first semester senior year, we did a project on acquisitions, and it was basically like we were put in a position with our team of running a company. And then it was like, okay, you have these acquisition opportunities. Look at them, run the numbers, and come back to the teacher, and you're going to present to the teacher in the class which acquisition makes the most sense for your company, if one makes sense at all. And so we ran the numbers, and for every single purchase, there should be an ROI. You should be like, hey, how much money are we going to get back out of this? How long will it take us to make our money back? Are there strategic benefits? Like, us buying these guys prevents the competition from getting them. So that is worth something in and of itself, even if it's not like direct cash value. It's still tangible in some way. Or it's not tangible, but it's still, you know, there. And so we did this presentation. We ran through all of that. And it feels like literally none of this even entered into the equation with the Bungie stuff. It's like, well, throw some billions at them and they'll make Marathon, and that will probably be the next Destiny, which will run for another decade. So that should make a lot of money. And then we have this other new project from them that'll probably do well. And it just feels like they gut vibed it. Like they just were like, what's the gut check? What's the vibe? Is the vibe good? Okay, lock it in. And that was like the extent of it. It's just dumb, dude. It's just dumb. But hey, I think, you know, it's probably good. It's probably good that he's leaving, because this means that let me say this. I think this is probably good news. I think this is probably good news because it means that one guy we know is bad at his job is out, and a new guy who might be bad at his job but might also be good at, or better, you know, he'll be put in charge. At the very least, it can't really get worse. You know, it can't really get worse. They're a company overrun with scandal after scandal after scandal, and they have had leadership that largely seems AFK and just totally uninterested. And the one thing, maybe this is too specific, but do you guys remember, I forget what they called it. Do you guys remember when they did the Marathon developer stream right after the like art theft scandal? This was like a day or two after, and they forced Joe Ziegler, the game director, and Cross, they forced them on camera to sit there and take questions from the audience trying to talk about this game, but they couldn't use gameplay footage because it was all filled with stolen art. So they had to just sit there on camera for an hour. Jonathan Cross, thank you. For an hour talking about the game, and they can't show footage or anything specific. They just have to sit there. Like, it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my life. But I really think, yeah, the stream was uncomfortable to watch, but I think exactly what you just said, Bex, is correct. Humiliating. I think that's what it was. I think that is specifically what it was. And we said at the time, why would leadership let them out to do this? Why would you don't have anything to share. You can't say anything. Even if you do say something really cool about the game, nobody cares right now because all anybody's talking about is this art theft stuff. They should have canceled this and be like, listen, we hear you. We're working on it. And especially these guys didn't do anything wrong. Ziegler came in reportedly like years after the original art theft was done. So did Jonathan, as far as we understand it right now. He was not the one that like stole the art. It was somebody that was underneath him that stole it and left the company later. And I think you're right, Core. It was like executives at the studio punishing them for being in charge of the project. And it was like this weird sort of flex humiliation thing of like, you're going to sit there and you're going to take it. You're going to take all the hate. You're going to read that live chat. We remember, I'm sure you remember all too well, the some of those chats, the side chats. Did anybody clip it? Dude, and then Fair Games is right next to it. That's funny. It was hard to watch. It was really, really hard to watch, honestly. But I think that was part of the point, is they wanted to, the executives that let them up there or forced them up there, were trying to make an example of them. And I think it's just so shameful. It was honestly kind of gross. Because these guys, as far as we can tell, didn't do anything wrong. It was literally somebody that doesn't even work there anymore and said that they did this work that they didn't actually do. But then the executives forced them to go on camera and sit there for an hour. And that's just so slimy to me. You notice the CEO of the company, who's now retired, he didn't go on camera. He didn't go on camera to apologize or say anything. No. It's Joseph Cross. Okay, Joseph, not Jonathan. Okay. But that's what I'm saying though. Is like I think that this was yet another example of how dysfunctional the leadership was. This guy that just retired from Bungie acting like everything was great and beautiful. You know, we did so many amazing things together. He did not step up when this scandal was going down. No, he probably hopped on his little scooter and rode home and got drunk on $800 bottles of wine. And he was totally fine while he forced those guys to go on camera and be humiliated in front of all of the rest of the internet. I think that's what happened. Went home, turned off his phone, and chilled. Yeah, because he's set for life. He doesn't care. A real leader would have gone up there, sat on that couch, sent them home, or said, if you really want to be there, you can be there. But I'm going to face the music for this because as the leader of this company, I'm ultimately responsible for it. Like, I think it's just so shameful. That's why I have no love lost for this dude. I respect him for working on a company, making a lot of money. That's cool. Good job, dude. But this was what was really, really shameful. Like forcing these guys up there and forcing them to be humiliated in this way while you, of course, are not on camera and don't have to listen to any of it. And you hide in your office or on your scooter on the way home. Just shameful. Yeah, the CD project leadership apologized. Yeah, I think it was it the CEO? CDPR CEO apology, I guess. Yeah, you remember this?
My name is Marcin Iwiński and I'm the co-founder of CD Projekt. When I started CD Projekt 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When CD Projekt Red, the game development part of CD Projekt, was born, it added something important to that principle, the ambition to make the best games in the world. It became our mission and something that guided us up until now.
So he literally, as co-founder of the studio, got on camera and said, I'm going to face the music. We're going to talk about this. We're going to deal with it. Because I think that's what a real leader does. But instead, the other guys hid in his office and sent the other guys to face the music for him, you know? But how can you, I can't read. But how can only be one person responsible if a good bunch of the art team from Bungie followed the artist years before that happened? My understanding is that, for one, the guys in the art team were following many people and many different artists, hundreds or thousands of them across social media. You see artwork you like, you follow it, you continue on. And it's probably true of a lot of people that, you know, you follow a lot of people on social media. You might not even remember who they are because you followed them once 5 years ago, and then that's that. Is it a good look? No, but doesn't mean that they were like at the studio. They had 4 people with the anti-real stuff pulled up and they were copying it. I don't personally think so. I think most likely what happened is that it probably was somebody who had a sheet of anti-real stuff, copy and pasted a bunch of it. They said it was put into like a decal book or a decal sheet or something. They said basically a texture pack that they use to make the game assets, and then they use that for the next handful of years while making the game, sprinkling that stolen asset all over the place, not realizing, you know, the future artists not realizing that that was using stolen artwork. And I'm somebody that said I think Anti-Real should have gotten an attorney and should have filed an actual lawsuit. My understanding is Anti-Real settled with them and got to some deal. I think that, personally, from my perspective, was a mistake. I think Anti-Real could have been set for several lifetimes. Could have gotten a a scooter probably out of it. But you know, I think there absolutely is legal grounds for a serious lawsuit. I'm not saying there isn't, but I think the claim from the investigation that they released the results of was that it was an artist who passed off all this work as their own, left the company later, but their work was continued to be used for years after that. Who knows? Who knows? Phantom Liberty was enough an apology. Yeah, dude. Well, it was literally put up or shut up. It was like, you're going to show you can do it, and you still got it. Otherwise, nobody cares. And they showed that they still had it, you know. So sad to see that they didn't do anything but work with passion and were embarrassed for it, and he just got off scot-free with his scooter. Yeah, I mean, it's why I think, especially even just within the company, it's really hard to follow the leadership of somebody that you don't respect. And in this case, I think it's like, who's going to respect that? Ghost of Dreams, a lawsuit that takes years over a settlement that is satisfactory, and it's art gets copied. I think it was probably a matter of timing. I think you're right, because a lawsuit like that would take years and years, and it would, to be fair, probably end in a settlement. I don't think it would ever end up like in a courtroom, but not to mention there's other things. I don't know if Anti-Real is US based. If Anti-Real lives internationally, that also greatly complicates it. But what I will say is that you take that case to like any lawyer and you're going to get them covering the case and handling the case pro bono, because there's a lot of money in that case. But they settled it. And as I've said before, some people just genuinely don't care about the money. They're like, I don't need $50 million in a settlement. I'm good. I just don't want them taking my art and saying it's theirs. In which case, respect. Some people genuinely just don't care about the money side of it, which is totally fine. I think she was from the UK. Yeah, I mean, that definitely complicates it. If you're from the UK and then you're like, oh, so I have to sue somebody in another country, how do I even begin doing that? You know, it is going to be tricky. Scottish artist? Oh, cool. Yeah, either way, she said on her social media that they came to an agreement or something like that, and are pretty much happy. But yeah, I think this guy can ride off into the sunset with his original owner 1972 Honda CT70 trail bike. And nobody will miss him. I think Bungie will be better for it. And I you know, no love lost. I think, again, running the company into the ground is one thing, but not this. Where'd it go? Oh, it was in this tab. This was what was really gross to me. This was the moment where I lost all respect for the Bungie leadership. I was like, to do this to your own employees and team who, according to you, did nothing wrong. Because according to Bungie, these guys did nothing wrong. And to force them on camera like this for an hour to just humiliate them, I thought was so shameful. But that's the leadership that now is out. Now he's gone. Now it's gone. Let's see. I think there was a time Pete Parsons was liked by Destiny community. I seem to remember that. Maybe when he first came in, or like fairly early on. It's not impossible. You either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Chat was not holding back either. Well, dude, I mean, it literally became a bit of a meme. People started joking about it. You know, it's hard not to, because it was just so patently ridiculous. That news breaks, then within like a day or two, they're doing a live stream talking about the game, but they can't show footage of it because it would potentially put them in legal jeopardy. So they have to just talk about it on camera. Like, it was just cringe and didn't work, but they forced them on camera to do that. Let's see. Oh, a Pragmata. One of you guys mentioned this Digital Foundry's Pragmata thing. Did they play an additional demo? Yeah, Nintendo, or not Nintendo, Sony raised prices and did the price hike on the PlayStation 5 Pro. It's why I pinned that comment in chat saying you should definitely join our giveaway now. Because now it's more of a bang for the buck than ever. One of you guys sent a tweet and we're like, Luke, can you still afford to do the giveaway now? It's a little funny. It's a little funny. Woof. Woof. Oh yeah, channel stuff I like. We did talk about that earlier on the stream. Hell yeah. Is there any hope for Marathon still left in your opinion, Luke? As I've said since like June, I think there is a chance Marathon could come and find some popularity. I do think there is, not great, like maybe 2 to 5% chance that it comes out, it actually ends up being like significantly improved and it pops off, does really well on console. That's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. I think if they were going to try to shove it out in whatever the original date was, September, I think. If they're going to try to shove it out in September, I think there's no chance it could find success. I mean, I don't think that happens. So they confirmed the release date, May 2020 or May 26, like Horizon Online. I mean, it seems like the best day. I don't think there's anything around there that could, possibly stomp on them. So seems like a great idea. I think they should definitely release the Horizon game on May 26th. I think that's a great idea. I think that sounds fantastic. That's a great idea. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? I want to see. Oh, so it looks like Digital Foundry actually got to do the boss fight. Okay, let's talk about this. News I'm at. What is this? Okay, so Pragmata. This is the game from Capcom that's been in a little bit of a development conundrum for a while. In case you don't know, this was originally revealed back in I believe it was 2020. It was originally revealed. And then, let's see, development. Yeah, originally announced June 11th, 2020 during SIE's PlayStation 5 reveal stream as Capcom's first original franchise in 8 years. Based on Capcom's 2021 annual report, they said, quote, or Brian Ashcroft of Kotaku said, one reason why the game looks so different from other Capcom titles is it's the brainchild of new development staff. That's cool. Initially, it was announced for a 2022 release date. However, in January of 21, they announced it was delayed to 2023. In June of 2023, they released a trailer stating the game had been delayed indefinitely. In June of 2025, they announced that it would be coming out in 2026. So it's been delayed a solid 4 years past its original launch window, which is not great. When I played the game at Summer Games Fest, we played through an early section, and we're going to look at the Digital Foundry preview in just a second, because it looks like they actually got to do the boss fight, which we did not get to do. It was really kind of strange. We played for about 20 minutes. We got to try the mini game. Basically, to unlock the armor of the enemy, you have to hold down left trigger to lock onto them, time slows. And then you have to go from the starting point using A, X, Y, B and go through the different points you can see outlined here in the direction that they have outlined. And you have to then go to the green spot. Once you've completed that, kind of like those Bioshock pipe puzzles. Once you've completed that, you then unlock the armor and you can deal damage. And you do this for every enemy except like the littlest, tiniest grunts, I believe. You might even have to do it for them. And that's the combat system. And then you swap between 4 guns. Each of the guns has like around 6 rounds to them. So they run out of ammo almost instantly. And that's to force you to swap weapons repeatedly during combat encounters. And then the enemies drop ammo to refill them, so on and so forth. Now, like I said, this was only a 20-minute segment of the game. So I'm sure there's a lot more complexity, or at least I hope there's a lot more complexity. But after 20 minutes, I personally felt that it was like this was going to get really old really quickly. Like every time you fight an enemy, you have to do this mini game. Not to mention when you have like 4 or 5 enemies in a room, you aim at one to hack their armor. That hacks just that one enemy's armor. So the other 4 guys are still pushing at you to come and attack you, granted in slow motion. So you have to use one of the other guns that like pulls them together or freezes them and slows them down. There's other things you can do to kind of space it out and get it. But from what I played over the 20 minutes, I was like, I'm not sure how this translates to a full game. I'm not sure. Maybe it's awesome. Maybe it ends up being amazing. I don't know. But it just wasn't, I wasn't seeing it quite yet. But what I wanted to see and what I was really interested in was the boss fight, because they have this big mech at the end of the demo where it works the same way, where you break it open by doing the mini game in order to break open the shields. But right as I reached the boss, the demo guy came over to my table thing and he like paused the game on the controller, reached over, hit pause, paused it, and kind of pushed the controller away. And he just goes, yeah, we got to stop it there. We got to stop the demo there. So I wasn't able to do the boss fight. And I was like, okay. And I was like a little bummed because I was excited. I wanted to see the boss fight we've been building to for the whole demo. He's like, oh, no, we just can't go. And then after, I was like, okay. He goes, yeah, thank you for not making a scene. I was like, what? It was very weird. It's like, what? Have people been making a scene? What do you mean? Like, thank you for not making a scene. It was just like, did you expect me to throw the controller? Have you had other people do that too? I don't know. It's not the first time I've heard of bad behavior at one of those events. Apparently during like the Capcom showcase, they had some TikTokers trying to film it. They're showing like, was it Onimusha and Rezi? And they're like, yeah, don't use your phones. And the TikTok guys are they're like, you cannot film this. It's under NDA. You can't do it. And apparently they had some people that were doing that. Kind of cringe. But it's not the first time I've heard of weird behaviors at those events, but being like, yeah, thank you for not making this scene was just kind of strange to me. But it looks like Digital Foundry has actually gotten to play through that boss fight, and I want to see what they thought of it, talking about graphics and stuff.
One of the first games announced for this new generation of consoles, Pragmata, as Richard would call it. Pragmata, I don't know how to say it. It was here today at Gamescom. We finally got to play it, and I'm very happy to have played it because it's actually very unique. It's very beautiful, and Richard Ledbetter is here with me, also played it.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically we saw this at the NVIDIA special gaming event, pre-Gamescom. And similar to Resident Evil Requiem, it's kind of like seemingly the start of a new relationship between NVIDIA and Capcom here, embracing higher end features. So it's got DLSS, obviously, it's got multi-frame gen, it's actually got what looks like pretty decent ray tracing in there. So in Resident Evil Requiem, we were talking about past tracing. We don't have that here, but what we do have is a pretty decent implementation, I'd say, of ray-traced reflections and ray-traced GI, global illumination. But I think maybe, John, we should be talking about what the actual game is, because we came at this sort of not knowing anything, really, right?
That's right. The trailers have always been kind of mysterious, right? But so
quick little tidbit about this, as you can see, some of them, the puzzles, this is, I'm assuming, one of the early bosses. But as you can see, you go through here, and if you loop through certain items on the, what do you call this, minefield? I don't know. On the board, you can get increased effects. So if you go through the shield, it'll actually decrease the shield for longer. So it's like a buff. So you have an incentive to go through in that very particular route to try and loop through those things to get added bonuses. And I'm like, even if you were to greatly increase the complexity of these puzzles, you put a bunch of red squares here, a couple more red squares over here. So you have to go take a really ornate, elaborate path to get to the green spot. I just am like, I don't know, maybe it becomes muscle memory and it's just something your right brain, left brain can do while you're fighting. But again, I think it could get really kind of tedious.
Oh, the demo begins, you sort of wake up in this room.
The girl's a robot. It's not an actual little girl.
Room, and there's this little girl there, and you're confused, no idea what's going on, and then suddenly you're attacked. And it begins with you and your pistol trying to shoot this guy, barely doing any damage. And then the girl sort of steps in and is like, hold on, I can hack this guy, right? So she literally jumps on your back and does so. This is the big mechanic, right? When aiming at an enemy now, you actually see above like sort of your ammo count or whatever, this like box that pops up, and in the middle there's like a green thing that you need to hit, but you use the face buttons to move a box around, and it sounds weird, but it's actually very intuitive. But you're essentially connecting these little dots together to get to the correct spot on that little grid, and when you do it, you massively increase the damage that you can do by weakening the enemy through the quote-unquote hacking system. And once you do that, basically
Yeah, these little flying machines, they have smaller like 3x3 grids. That's right. So they're much smaller, easier to hack, but you still have to hack them.
2 shots and it's down. And so I was like, what the heck is this? This is really weird. But turns out there's a lot of depth and some interesting stuff here. So the demo essentially takes you through this part of the station where you're trying to get up to the top of a tower, and you can jump, you can hover with sort of a jetpack mechanic. You run around in third person and, left trigger aim, right trigger shoot. But then you have this little girl on your back, which of course they certainly used to show off the strand hair system, which was introduced in Resi 4. And she has these big billowing locks that are always moving around. And I'll be curious to see how this holds up on the consoles, but on PC with all these features enabled, it was extremely clean looking and very detailed. And so it's very...
I believe we played our demo on PlayStation 5, I believe. And it was a work in progress build like a year out from launch, so it still has plenty of room to change. But it was one of those games where like you could tell they were using a lot of like heavy upscaling to hit resolution and frame rate targets. So it like had a lot of artifacting around her hair, kind of like when you use FSR on like a Resident Evil game. It kind of had that vibe to it.
Pretty clear that her hair,
which makes sense because it's
hair is essentially like almost like a tech demo-y thing where it's like just moving through the world looks awesome because of the physics on her hair and the way it moves. Tress FX is back, baby, and better than ever.
Yeah, so this demo we saw running on an RTX 1590, so I'm...
Top end.
Yeah, so I'm going to be very curious to see how like the PlayStation 5 version compares, but obviously that's going to be like the baseline, so what you're seeing here is like the sort of ultimate iteration as such.
Exactly. So essentially as you're moving through this world, you're platforming, you're trying to figure out, you come to a gate that's got these like 5 locks on it, and it essentially means that you're exploring this environment to figure out how to access each of these 5 locks. And as you go around, you hack each one, but they present enemy challenges along the way, platforming challenges. There's foes in difficult to reach spots, and you need to...
I mean, when he says platforming challenges, I mean like there was literally like you jump from one ledge to another. I mean, I don't know if I would call it a platforming challenge. It was literally like, hey, you're here with your friend on your back that has the long flowing hair, okay? You're there, and you need to get up to this floor because this is where the lock is. That's the lock, apparently. And so it was like, okay, there's a ledge here and a ledge here and a ledge here, and then there's a ledge over here. So you just kind of run around, jump up, jump up, jump up, double jump, double jump. Like calling it a platforming challenge is like it's a little silly to me. Like I understand they're doing graphics analysis, they're not like game critics or whatever, but calling it a platforming challenge is like a little funny because this is the same demo that I played. It's just, it seems like they're going to get to go to the boss fight.
Figure out how to get up there, then take them out. And then of course you eventually start to gain these extra sort of bonuses. So in that grid that pops up, like a shield kind of thing can pop up in there, or like a different icon. And if you basically cross that while using the face buttons to navigate and then get to the sort of like execute button, you do further damage, or like you gain some other ability from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I thought this was really interesting. So it's basically a gimmick whereby it's not just aim and shoot, but it's aim and hack and shoot. And
I think that that's a key component to understand, is that it is a gimmick. Not all gimmicks are bad, but gimmicks are still gimmicks. And at some point it's possible for them to get old or stagnant and just not that compelling anymore. So you got to balance it out with more nuance in the gameplay, with more variety and things like that, which is what I hope to see with this boss fight.
And you have different weapons as well. So there's like a shotgun style weapon that's used for close-up damage. Massive damage, if I might suggest.
There was a stasis gun as well, where you essentially fire that and the enemy sort of locked in almost like a stasis where they move in super slow-mo and you can sort of take them out that way. It's this combination of enemies and these mechanics that it genuinely feels like a new, fresh idea in a way that surprised me. And of all the games I played at that event, that was the one that stuck with me the most, just because it's that really satisfying sort of like action exploration style game that Capcom was so good at making, but with some really unique mechanics and enemy management sort of
you have to
stuff
hack it.
going
Get
on.
close.
And then the boss fight was
There you go.
awesome, where he's, you're in this giant arena, he's charging you, you're using stasis, getting around behind him, hacking him then, and then you're like firing at like his weak points and all that, like classic boss stuff. But all his tells, his attacks, just dealing with him. It was super responsive, super fun. But of course,
I mean, I didn't get to do the boss fight. It makes me wonder if it was glitched or something, because we got to the boss fight and then the guy quickly interjected and pressed the pause. So it makes me wonder if there was like some newly discovered bug that they didn't want us to see, so they shut it off early. But it seems like they're playing the same build or same demo. They were just allowed to go all the way through it. Yeah, he also said stasis, which I've never heard somebody call it stasis. Is it stasis or stasis? I've only ever said stasis, but is it stasis? Should it be stasis? It's kind of spelled like stasis. Anyway, I'm going to say stasis. I don't know. He's like, it's fresh, new ideas, but I'm also like, I don't know, man. It like you hack. That is a unique element. You hack in real time an enemy, and then it opens up weak points for you to shoot and attack. That's true. But I don't know, man. I don't know how fresh it is.
Of course, you have all of this with this awesome atmosphere and like interesting level design, but it's backed up by, I think, the best ray tracing we've seen from
Okay, there it is. That's why he likes it. Okay. Everybody always jokes that Digital Foundry, if you want them to praise a game, you just put some good ray tracing in it, and then it seems accurate. Because I found the gameplay to be like major question marks with this, where I'm just like, I don't know how you convert this into a 20-30 hour game without it being so freaking tedious. But I'm glad he had fun. I'm glad he had a good time. I did not enjoy my time with it. I just was like the whole time, okay, where's like the thing that ties all this together? What's the next thing? What's the big thing? Maybe boss fights or what does it? But even this, it just seems like you go through a few waves of it.
It's not the path
slowly,
tracing in the RE Requiem demo.
Breaking it down.
So like sci-fi environments, I think, are naturally well suited to this.
Yes, everything's quite shiny, which is great for RT reflections.
like there's so much reflectivity everywhere, and I think this would not work without RT reflections. Like if this was the SSR like they've done before, it would look terrible. Like they have to do ray traced reflections here, and it works. It's very surprisingly clean. Not too much noise in the reflections. Like just the overall detail levels, the quality of the metal materials, the details on the characters and creatures.
I will say I do not remember it looking anywhere near this good during my demo, but I do not think my demo was running on a 5090. So like I said, I think it was a PS5, but maybe it was a PC build. I don't know.
It all feels very meticulous.
They wouldn't tell us.
From
what I can recall.
This is so interesting to me, though, that Capcom making this sort of completely new IP like this with such a different feel. It's not a kind of game that they've made before, and it really makes me want to kind of support it and get behind this, because it feels very special. It's beautiful. The demo is super optimized. Cutscenes are gorgeous. Really cool gameplay mechanics. All the stuff in here that just I kind of kept wanting to go. It's really, really well made in that regard.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how the rest of the game plays out in terms of how the level variety changes up, that kind of thing. I think the thing that I really like about it, though, is that although it is kind of new IP, it is quite innovative. It's kind of quintessential Capcom in terms of visual presentation, just the level of polish, the quality of character rendering. It's just all
top tier
across the board there. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking at this and thinking, well, where do they go next with this game? Because I think they've got something very, very special here in terms of gameplay mechanics, in terms of visuals. They seem to have really hit their stride with the RE engine. I guess maybe being liberated from the having to produce like PS4 versions is paying off big time for them. I can't imagine them trying that hair on anything else other than current gen.
Yeah, I just don't think it would work.
Series S going to be
because
interesting.
if you strip out the RT, you strip out the hair rendering, it's going to break the aesthetic they're going for, right? Like it's very,
which is why we should probably wait to call it like a graphical powerhouse until we've seen what it looks like on consoles, because that's where the vast majority of players are going to buy it, most likely.
specifically designed with these features in a way where it's not going to work well without them. So, and honestly, Capcom hasn't done a lot of sci-fi either. So it's really interesting to see them take on this sort of environment now. I mean, Resident Evil has plenty of sci-fi elements, let's be clear, but this is like full on, like more hard sci-fi kind of setting. The last time we saw something like this was Dino Crisis 3, which I have to admit kind of sucks, but I actually prefer. Dino Crisis 1 and 2 are great, but Dino Crisis 3 really dropped the ball. This feels like them taking another shot at this sort of like sci-fi universe, and I think it's going to be very, very successful from a design perspective. And I really hope people give it a shot, because it does kind of feel like it's not naturally getting quite the attention that something like RE Requiem would be getting, right? And that's not surprising, but
Do you think it's
I think it's just something about it feels off, and hopefully it's a game where they can continue showing it and then it clicks with people. But naturally, if you show something 6 years before it's revealed and it's delayed multiple times, including one delay which was indefinite, as you're trying to figure out how to make the game work and make it fun and engaging, naturally some people are going to just kind of put it aside in their mind, because games that are caught up in development hell, they often have problems, you know, like they just do.
It's maybe a smaller scale game. I'm not sure, because it's been in development for.
So it's hard to know how many resources they put behind this, and the production values are still like stunning.
Yeah,
something most studios would kill for. And it has, you know, it was initially announced many, many years ago, although it looked rather different at the time.
Yeah.
So, but maybe that stuff's in this version. I don't know. This was just a small snippet. All I can say is this went up on the top of my list as far as like games I really genuinely want to play this year. Although, do we know if it's coming out this year?
I'm not sure, but we should be seeing,
I didn't
hopefully seeing the console versions at actual Gamescom, because this was at the NVIDIA PC event.
Right.
I'd love to see this content actually running on a PS5.
I guess we're going to find out soon enough, but I think that's going to do it for this video, given our...
Yeah, next year. It's been pushed to next year, as you can see in our little recap. I don't know. There's something funky about it to me. I'm glad they got to play the boss fight. That's cool, because that's the one bit I really wanted to see. But seeing it now in action, it does look like it's just like the other enemy fights. It's just like a more complicated grid for breaking the armor, and then some like AoE attacks are tossed in there too. It could end up being really amazing. The story could end up being amazing and compelling, but as of right now, I don't know how you keep this really engaging for dozens of hours. And maybe it's not dozens of hours long. Maybe it's only 8 hours long or something, and that's how they do it. Maybe that's how it works. But I think that, you know, that will be a question. Also, the guns and the ammunition and stuff is another pet peeve of mine. I just personally, it drives me crazy when I'm playing a game like this with onslaughts of enemies, and then you give me a gun that has like 5 rounds in it, and then you just make me run around the arena to collect more reloads of those same guns. Like, it's just kind of overly tedious to me. I know some people don't mind it. They're totally fine with it, but it always drives me a little crazy. But at least it's a unique looking game, and it brings at least a new kind of unique mechanic. Whether the mechanic stays interesting for a long period, of course, is up in the air, but at the very least it's something fresh, which is nice. Based Last of Us. Well, Last of Us is like survival. It's like a survival horror game, so it's a little bit different. Narrative survival horror. Like, you play that on the hardest difficulty, you have like 3 bullets in each gun because they want you to mainly stealth and sneak around. That's not what they're doing here, though. With this, they're like putting you in closed arenas and you don't get out until you've defeated all of the enemies, you know? It's just different. Just different. But anywho, interesting. Interesting. We'll see you next year. Hopefully we get more trailers and previews and stuff as the rest of the year plays out. Fingers crossed. Okay. Okay. Let's see, do I have anything else? Oh, dude, how on earth? It's already past 3. Wow. Stealth is for pussies. Luke Stevens, 2025. Oh man, yeah, Grounded is no joke. Grounded, that's if you really just want to ruin your weekend. That's how you do it. It's fun, but it makes you play in a very different way. You play like you're actually in the post-apocalypse. Like you got to actually be really, really careful. Really, really careful. Just realized Todd isn't in the room today. Nah, he went back in the closet. Classic Todd. But nah, he went back in there. Had to put him away. If he's out here all the time, it's not special, you know? It's not special. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had a wonderful time. I know it's kind of a weird week because we had Gamescom, so we don't normally stream on Thursdays, and, you know, I understand it's weird, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, chilling. You guys are amazing. As always, thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll be back possibly tomorrow. I got to see if we still have stuff to talk about, but we'll be back soon, rocking and rolling. Batman talk, I want to do a deep dive. I want to do like a big deep dive. I'm waiting on some interviews, and I want to ask Jor about it. So, yeah. So buckle up. We went through a bunch of stuff today. It was good. Made some good time. Let's see what else. Okay, yeah, no, we did good. Thank you guys. Much love. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Stream tomorrow. I'm gonna text Jor right now, and we're gonna see if he's able to do a podcast. And we will see. If we are doing it, I'll make a stream event. Don't you worry. Until then, my friends, much love, hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. I miss you already.